Yeah, okay.
How you doing?
Good, yeah.
Welcome to the Bending Brands podcast. Thanks for having me in your apartment. We just got done doing some cool sessions. Very beautiful. Natural light, bunch of keyboards, some vocal effects, what were those shakers you had on your legs?
Those are, they're these little bells. It's an Indian thing, I don't know if it's, a particular style of music or ritual, or if it's from a particular region of India, but I know that if you go to like an Indian, South Asian neighborhood, like you can pick them up. So I've had those for about 10 years. And I know they come from that part of the world, but I just kind of use them in my own particular way.
They sound great.
Oh, I guess.
That's okay. We have a phone going off. It's all good. They sound really cool. I liked them a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, for a while, that was the percussion. That was the only percussion that I was using, and now I've got the drum machine, I mean, that's always been the big question for me, is like, who's going to be the drummer? Who's going to play the percussion? Because like I love percussion, and that's one way that I can do it myself. It's not an ideal situation, but it is one way to sort of just do it myself.
A one-man band type of situation.
Yeah, one-man band. Yeah, without being like the kind of one-man band that has like a little bass drum and a little snare or whatever.
I know a lot of those people.
Yeah, I mean, it's
cool.
It can be super hip. Like I've heard it be really hip, but it's got a real hokey edge to it, and I feel like the bells just come like to this side of that edge, without going over or something. Yeah.
How long have you been playing music for, and what was your first instrument?
I started playing music when I was 5 years old. I started playing piano. That's been my instrument since I was a kid, and I really I'm sort of an idealist in some ways, and I really just stuck to piano, like I didn't fuck with keyboards really at all for the longest time. I had that Wurlitzer, that I was just playing, the Wurlitzer electric piano, just for practical reasons. I mean, you can't always have a real piano, in your house. I mean, usually you can't. But I really just played piano for the longest time, and didn't mess with keyboards or synthesizers or anything like that. And I was playing accordion. The music that I write, I was playing accordion for a while, like accordion and bells. That was my setup. But, over the past few years, I've just slowly gotten familiar with different kinds of synthesizers and then the loop station, and like just sort of expanding. And now it's been a few years that I've arrived at kind of a particular sound that involves the bells, it involves looping, it involves like a synthesizer that I play that plays bass lines, and there's like a phasing thing that happens where the loops are 5 bars long, but the bass lines are 4 bars long. So there's a kind of a phasing thing that happens, and I just super love to play that. Like I mentioned earlier, like, I played something for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but, usually I'll play it for, I'll sit in the room and play it for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, and that's a zone that I get into. And I find it to be I don't know, restorative or whatever. It's good for me.
Meditative?
Yeah, meditative, definitely.
Do you find that you said one bar is 5 and then one's 4? Do they meet at 20 then? So is it more like a poly measure?
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Actually, most of the music that I play ends up being... Actually, yeah, most of what I've written and played over the past few years has been in 3. So, the vast majority of like pop music, for example, is in 4, it's or 2, it's in like double time. But like, I guess I've just been super into 3. And so, yeah, I play things like there are these loops they'll be like maybe, 4 bars long or 5 bars long or 7 bars long or 4 beats or 5 beats or 7 beats or whatever, something that isn't 3, so that it just sort of, it ends up, kind of phasing. So like the whole cycle maybe won't finish for 21, 3 times 7, or for 15 or something like that, And that isn't necessarily by design. Sometimes I think about it first, but a lot of the time I really don't even really know what's happening. I have a vague notion, and I just know it's like, okay, something's in 3, something's in 7, so probably at 21 it's going to line up. So if I program a drum machine thing that's 21 bars long, it's like, does it work? So sometimes it does. Other times it doesn't. I don't necessarily know or care why, but there's a lot of there's a math element to it, and it's appealing to me to have things that overlap in that way.
Yeah.
Because like if you've got a bass line that you like, or like a chord progression that you like, it's like, I mean, maybe some people, not me, I wouldn't want to play just the same progression for 40 minutes. It's like it starts to get stale. Like if you're just hearing the same chords happen over the course of a musical phrase, you're just hearing it over and over and over, and it sounds the same more or less every time. Maybe the melody changes, but the harmony sounds the same over and over and over. It's like that just at a certain point it starts to get old. It doesn't matter, your absolute favorite song, your favorite D'Angelo song or whatever. It's like, after 6 minutes, it's like you're kind of done, But if there's that thing where it's disjointed, where like, some part of it is like 7 bars long, but the phrases are 8 bars long, and it overlaps in this way. It's like every time you hear it, it's kind of new.
Yeah.
And it's like 7 times 8? It's like 40,
56.
56. So every 56 bars it lines up again, but that's long enough that it kind of is fresh every time, which I super dig.
That is long.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of making music like that as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear someone, you're one of the very few people I've ever met even mention what you're mentioning. So it kind of hits close to home for me personally. I'm big into polymeasures, polyrhythms, odd time signatures, overlapping things that meet in weird spots, maybe never to do it again or to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's hard, but when it comes naturally and you can kind of be aware of it, that's the best place to be. Because eventually you kind of need to be aware of it if you want it to always work. Otherwise, it can get a little weird.
Yeah,
you can get off,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and or it's like you're chasing that magic. You're like, oh, it was so magical last time. Why isn't it? Why isn't it this time? It's like, well, maybe if you put a little thought into like what exactly is happening, then you can have a little more luck reproducing it. But if you leave it totally up to the stars, then you might find something really cool and never find it again, So I try to put I try to analyze somewhat what I play just so that I have an idea of how I can recreate it,
Music is a very strange art form because there is a theory to it, and it's very physics and mathematically based as far as creative endeavors are considered, but there's also like feeling in it. But even the feeling, it can be quantified within certain ebbs and flows of a BPM and a measure. So like, it is like the most feeling quantifiable creation. It's weird. It's weird. Like people say like improv, like if you're improvising at a certain point, you're still hitting 128th note or 64th note or 32nd note or 16th note. You're still playing within a time signature. You're still playing within a key. Even if you're going out of key, then you're doing something else within the physics of music. So it's a strange one. How do you feel about it as far as like it being quantifiable versus unquantifiable as far as those worlds meeting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I feel like this question kind of hits on a phenomenon that I would tend to say like exists everywhere, where it's sort of like with art, I think with art that is truly like great, there's a level of immediacy where something strikes you and you enjoy it or whatever, and then there's a deeper level where it's like so there's that kind of that pleasure or that satisfaction or whatever the words would be, but then there's also a level where like if you analyze it and you think about it, there's also you unlock things that also give you that pleasure, that satisfaction, And so I think that's really true. That's definitely, it's true with a lot of things. It's like you go, I don't know, check out some painting that you really like, and it's like, oh, she was using this technique, when she was painting it, and it's sort of like, oh, like now I appreciate it even more, And I think that's similar with music, for me. Like I actually studied music theory because I'm really into analyzing music, and I'm a piano player. I train in jazz, so it's like it's a very theoretical approach. your ear will get you really far, but also you need to know what's going on. You need to be able to analyze harmony and whatever,
You studied that in college?
Yeah.
Where at?
In McGill in Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good school.
For
music.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. There are a lot of great musicians that passed through McGill and that teach in McGill. So I'm super into analysis, and I think that, sometimes actually analysis can take the magic out of music. I've had that experience too, with like 12 tone music or whatever. It's sort of like you analyze and then you're just sort of like, oh, this isn't as fun anymore. But I think with the music that I really love, it's like the more I know about it, the more I love it. So it's like, what's going on with that bass line, or like, how is the bass line related to the melody, or like, what's going on with that polyrhythm or whatever. And it's like, there are levels of understanding and analysis that just make you love it more, So yeah, I think that's kind of the deal. Is like, maybe it'll hit you in your heart, but also if you intellectualize it, like if you take an intellectual approach, then you can appreciate it in new ways, and then it'll hit your heart in new ways,
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I've been learning a lot the past years, specifically through the pandemic, of like reanalyzing music again and like going back to it. I was so burnt out from listening to it a lot, recording bands, doing live sessions like we just did, shows, like house shows every month, just so much recording, just thousands and thousands of recordings and tens of thousands of takes of songs, that I was just kind of like burnt out, and I started going towards more like podcasts and not listening to as much music. Still listen to it, but not nearly as much. And then the pandemic happened, and I just started like re-listening to music and having friends show me new stuff, being more open to stuff instead of just closing that door to all different styles of music. And then in the more recent like 6 months, friends and my partner just showed me so many things I never heard of, or like kind of knew it was there, but just was, I don't know, just kind of not interested in going down those paths for whatever reason. Nothing personal. And I just realized how vast the musical world is, and it made me reappreciate music again and like fall in love with it again.
Oh, cool. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been very like romantic the last 6 months of my life for a lot of reasons, but specifically for music, it's been beautiful. And now I like can't help but always want to put music on. And like I even listen to it differently now. When I was filming you, I was focusing very much on what I was doing with the camera, but I was also like really intrigued with what you were doing musically, and I was listening to the whole thing and analyzing it. And I think from playing so much music, listening to so much, engineering so much, and filming it, and putting on shows, I've learned how to like understand anticipation, even in something where I don't know you. I've never been here. I've never seen that type of setup, but I always was able to tell when like something was going to happen. Not in like a very predictable way. Most people wouldn't be able to predict it, but just like you could probably predict a lot since you have so much music experience. You could hear something like, something's going to happen here. It's probably that. And I would use that that skill that I've learned over years to like move the camera at the right spot. And there's times when you would be about to do the feet shaker thing, and I kind of felt it, so I went down and caught it perfectly and brought the camera like an inch off the ground. And then I just felt like you were going to add another thing with your hand and another thing, and I kind of caught it like an elevator going up, and then your voice came in, and then you moved your hand, so I made it go and focus on the other pedal for the vocal. Just so many things like that. Now, what I'm getting at with this story is, do you find yourself sometimes losing like the passion or the love or the curiosity of music because you know so much, because you've been playing for 31 years and you're trained classically and you studied it at a good music? Is it considered a conservatory?
I guess so. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So pretty much everything you can do to be a great, focused, trained musician. Do you ever find that it becomes mathematical or becomes routine or becomes innate, and you kind of lose what I've been talking about, like falling in love with music or having it be romantic?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think like, I don't know, maybe I have a few different answers to that. I think that that kind of like training and deep relationship with an art form or within any discipline, it definitely, at least for me and probably for others, it makes you very picky. Like I have my taste, like I have whatever that excites me, and it's like, I think Duke Ellington was like, there's great music and then there's everything else or something, it's like, and like it's really like super true. And like, I don't know, another friend of mine, Adam Kinner in Montreal, like he was like, if 1 out of 20 shows that you see like speak to you, like you're doing really well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that can be kind of a little bit of a negative kind of perspective, it isn't a super optimistic perspective, but I think it's true. I mean, if 5% of the music that I listen to touches me, then like that's kind of a lot, you know? So I think that's maybe one answer to the question, is just sort of like, the more training and the more knowledge and more experience is packed in, it's just kind of the more refined your taste gets. And it's like, well, I like this and I don't like that. And I can't necessarily predict what I'm going to like, but I know that it doesn't come around that often, that something really touches me. And like, it might touch me the first time, and then the second time around, it's sort of like, I don't know, it gets stale, like stuff that stuff that really speaks to me, like it doesn't come around that often. So that sucks. I would love to just love everything that I listen to,
Do you think it's because of how like hyperactive your musical mind is from all the training and experience?
Yeah, I think that plays a role. I mean, I think I think anybody can have a very particular taste, and just sort of and be picky or snobby or whatever,
Snobby's a place a lot of people go to. They like to say I'm picky or I'm particular, but really they're being snobby. And I could say that, people, because I have been extremely guilty of that. I'm not like that anymore. I will listen to anything multiple times and then make my decision.
Right.
I don't care what it is. It could be the most popular, right on the nose song with the most basic beat and lyrics and style. I'll still try it out, and then I'll at least try it a couple times, and then I'll make my decision.
That's wise. That's wise, because it's easy to write stuff off.
It's really, especially these days with how much output
there
is.
Exactly. If you want to be a snob, it's really easy. So I try to avoid that. But I think also it's like, hey, your taste is your taste. And if you listen to something, you're just like, this is boring, or this is trite. It's just how you
verbalize it.
Right. Yeah, well, that has something to do with it, too.
Yeah, I always tell anyone who's going to give me constructive criticism, like, please do that. Please say it. Just think about your tone. Like, say it in a nice way. Don't be condescending.
Yeah.
Say whatever it is you have to say that's going to be a criticism. Hopefully it's constructive, or your opinion, but just think about how you're presenting it. And that's, if more people did that, the internet wouldn't be so chaotic. YouTube and Twitter and everything, and the political system wouldn't be so chaotic if people just said things in a nicer manner.
Yeah.
Because that's what you would do in person.
Or more thoughtful, like.
Thoughtful, yeah.
Yeah. It is weird. It can be there can be this real kind of this impulse from inside to say something in a dismissive way, give criticism in a dismissive way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's much more worthwhile, because I want to be open to people's criticism as well.
It's very helpful. I've learned so much when someone said, like, in a nice way, something that was crucial, and criticized something I did, good or bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right. Some of my friends have good ideas and give good advice, but a few of them will be a little harsh in their delivery.
Yeah.
And it might just be out of habit of, like, we've just been friends for so long, so you kind of want to skip that whole, like, why do I even have to bother? Because it takes effort to be kind.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more effort to be kind than it is to just come out the gate with your thought.
Yeah.
You have to think of the right words to use that might take you, like, dancing around the subject matter to not be offensive.
Yeah.
But it comes, when you do it a lot, it gets easier. It gets a lot easier, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill. But yeah, for sure. It's like, if I play a show or whatever, it's like the people that heard it, they probably, most of them, if they were paying attention, have an opinion about it. And like, they're gonna tell somebody.
Yeah.
They're gonna say shit about it. So like, I'd just as soon hear it. I would prefer it to be thoughtful and not whatever.
Arrogant, passive aggressive, belittling, rude.
Yeah, none of those.
There's
I could do without those things. But I do want to hear people's impressions.
It's important. I think it helps with growth.
Yeah.
It's what a good parent, leader, teacher, professor. What makes them
Totally.
great is when they can tell you in a nice, constructive manner, like what you did right and what you did wrong. And
Yeah.
you should always have both.
Yeah.
'Cause if you're only saying the wrong things, it's
You're
like,
right.
well, why would I be here if I did everything wrong? Why would I be at a university if I did everything wrong? I wouldn't have been accepted if I did everything wrong.
Yeah.
Why are my parents still around me? If I was that bad, they would have like, hated me and grounded me or given me away or whatever. I know I'm being a little extreme with that one, but you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
lead with kind things too.
Totally.
And then, say the things like, but
Yeah.
X, Y, Z.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean that's a great thing about presenting and presenting your work,
Did your I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no.
Did your family support your musical decisions and endeavors in life?
Yeah, I would say so. My mom was a pretty serious dancer for a while, so she knows about artistic pursuits,
The struggle.
Yeah, and she knows, she knows about the what would the right word be? The fulfillment, the gratification. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, the fulfillment, the gratification, the euphoria, whatever. Like she knows about those things, so she understands. She understands.
What do you think those people on this planet that don't have an outlet, no matter what it is, as a form of expression, and sometimes that becomes someone's just hobby?
Mm-hmm.
What do you? I can't imagine what that's like. I've never had that. Like I've always had an outlet since I can remember.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, if that leads to some type of depression.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you don't like let it out.
I mean, I think that this might sound kind of snobby, but I think that most people don't. I mean, I think that our culture, by and large, let's say here in the U.S., but just maybe in the West in general, it's like it really just what is encouraged is consumption. So whether you're gonna consume, movies and shows or whatever food, or whatever material goods, stuff that you can buy, like that's kind of where people go for their gratification, I think, and for their fulfillment. And and then there are various strata of that, like the whatever. A lot of people move to New York just so that they can basically like consume really expensive and fine things. Go to really nice restaurants and go like the opera or whatever. I don't know if people really care about going to the opera anymore. But like, and then there are people that like they get their gratification by going to Cracker Barrel and watching a Hollywood, Fast and Furious or whatever. Like, there are all these different levels and different venues. But I think like basically what our culture is about consuming. And I think that like on some level, like I'm just speaking now I'm like pontificating, but on some level there's an emptiness to that, but I think that that's the reality for most people. So where you can find some meaning in that in like TV shows and movies and the food that you eat, but like, or the, the car that you, or whatever, the TV and the couch and stuff, the shit that you buy. But ultimately, like, there's an emptiness to that. Like, there's a lack of meaning in that. I think probably for most people where they find meaning, would be maybe more in their work, or if there's emptiness in their work, maybe more in their family. They raise a kid and it's like, then that's just like automatic meaning in your life, raising a human or whatever. Like, I think that, so anyway, this is my answer to your question, is that like, I think kind of most people don't really have a creative outlet, like, because, because maybe that's a privilege, in our society, and
you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think most of the people are like on the hamster wheel or whatever. Like they're just whatever. They're just following the path that's laid out for them.
For something.
Yeah, but it's our culture is like so empty in so many ways, and it's really like the time. Yeah, people have time, like even if you're working 60-hour weeks or whatever, there's still time, but you go home and you watch Breaking Bad or whatever, you know, like The Sopranos or whatever the fuck, you know, it's like
Yeah.
people are just, and that's good stuff too, you know, like
That's someone else's creative endeavor.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You
You know,
know?
maybe it's better than watching fucking Family Matters or whatever, you know, but
Yeah.
like, but ultimately, like that's what people do with their time, and so I don't know. I mean, this is a big question. I don't know if what I'm saying is really super coherent. But
No, it's a hard one to answer. I mean, I don't know what it's like to put my own self-expression into everything I do, even conversation, even why I'm doing this, even why I like to capture other people's art form and be the vessel, be the medium for others to see it and consume it, to promote it, you know, to push it out there into the ether, to do it myself, to find a creative, beautiful thing in everything I do, from food to exercise, to watching something, to reading a book, to playing a game, to playing chess, to doing a puzzle, to swimming, to doing extreme sport, to camping. Everything about it, I just found a way personally to enjoy some type of expression in everything I do, from the littlest thing to the end, you know, from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And everyone's certainly different. This has always worked for me, but it makes me curious as to why I can feel so much fulfillment in that, regardless if it's monetized or if it makes money or if it doesn't. Like, this podcast is free. It doesn't make money, but I still do it anyway. I'm in Brooklyn right now. I'm 800 miles from home.
Yeah.
Doing it with someone I just met a couple hours ago. And I'm going to continue to do it every time I come here, and those sessions too. And it's just something I've always enjoyed doing, but it baffles certain people when they're just kind of like, do you make money from it?
Right. Well, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, well,
I mean, that's
I
the
make
bottom
money
line.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
This is like a passion project. It's a hobby.
Yeah.
I learn a lot. I meet cool people. No, at least I think are cool.
Yeah.
And I learn something new, and I grow a little bit more every time. Just a little bit more than if I just sat at home watching Breaking Bad or The Sopranos or Chef's Table. Although you can learn from those shows,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
after the millionth time of seeing it, then what?
Yeah.
So I don't have, I think not enough people, I don't know if there's a specific answer, but not enough people do it or push themselves. But most people think about it and they talk about it. They just have a hard time making that leap. And I know a lot of people that are just kind of like, you'll see them like maybe doodling, drawing something, like, oh, you should get some supplies and like maybe get a table and like do some more drawings. No, that's fine. But like, you could see there's something there. They're getting something out.
Right.
They just won't do it. They won't hop over the fence. So someone's really good at cooking and they're talking about it and they have rare spices and the way they're putting it there, I'm like, wow, you should like get more into that and like buy more stuff and like maybe start cooking more, maybe take a class. And they're just like, nah, it's whatever. And then, for some reason, it's maybe a lack of confidence because society tells you there's no value in a creative endeavor.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with like just our cultural values.
Well, it's very rare to parents like, yeah, be an artist. Very rare.
Yeah, definitely.
You either like show insane promise at a young age, like a prodigy, which is rare, or to be honest, your parents are probably more well off, and maybe they were artists at one point, so you have both. They have that push and the money to be like, well, we can supplement your income if you can't make it to a place.
Totally.
Which is that's another path. It's fine. I'm not going against that, but that's probably why it's so rare and not why there's not value put into it. Why an artist will work for anything, you know, for free, just to get their expression out there. When you do something that's in your heart and it's an expression, you'll do it for anything. And the only way I can simplify that, which it's not the same thing at all, but for someone who'll do anything for like their kid or their loved one, it's like the same feeling. Like, I'll do anything to play guitar. Like, I don't care if you pay me or not. In fact, I've only ever lost money because I had to buy all the gear, and then I never made money playing. So I've only lost $10,000 playing guitar. I've never actually made anything.
Yeah, but I think I mean that's kind of in a way what I was saying before. It's just sort of like, well, where's your meaning coming from? You know, it's like, and I think for a lot of people, you know, the sort of the rapid, you know, path to meaning is like is a family. You know, I mean, that's a great way to just sort of like ground yourself, have a sort of a life project, and you know, and there's so much love, and I mean, I don't know what it's like. I've never done it, but from what I hear, you know, like there's so much love involved. You love your children so much, whatever, and then there's just meaning in your life, you know. And I think that's kind of, it's almost automatic. So I think that's where the locus of meaning is for probably most people in our culture. But you know, your meaning could be elsewhere, you know, or it could be shared. You know, probably I would, you know, that would be my theory. Probably family would be the number one thing. Probably after that would be work. You know, people, especially in our culture, you know, they get super dedicated to their work, and then they find meaning in their work. It's their identity. It's their value as a person. It's the value of their life. You know, and whatever that can be great. That can also be like.
I don't think there's longevity in that.
Yeah,
I think there is with family. I mean, that's why we're here, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's the only thing we know for a fact.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, we see how biology works. We understand what's going on here. It's why we're talking right now. Mm-hmm. But work only goes so far before it is detrimental to your longevity, to your health, to your family.
Right.
You know,
right.
What is a family if you're not around?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that work can also be, you know, can be a great venue for people to find themselves, and for people to find their purpose, and I
guess it just depends on how many hours is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, totally.
Because work is fine. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You need to keep yourself busy. If you just sat around all day, you'd lose your mind.
Yeah.
I just mean, like, how much are you putting into it?
Totally. Yeah, and does it actually? I don't know what to say about that. You know, I mean, if underlying the whole thing is about the pursuit of money, then ultimately, yeah, probably you're going to wake up one day and like you're going to realize that there's a lot of emptiness.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think a lot of people sort of find meaning in their work, and yeah, and then they probably burn themselves out.
Do you see that a lot in New York? Working, you said you work in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So do you see it a lot with people, with the emptiness, the money pursuit? Because it's an expensive place to live.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, I as a rule haven't worked very much in my life. I've successfully avoided working. I have a full-time job now for the first time in my life. It's been 6 or 7 months.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen? Well, how did you go 35 years without?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked, but I've never had like a full-time position with a salary.
Yeah.
Never. You know, like I've had part-time positions. I've worked as a teacher, worked, whatever odd jobs, catering, farmers market, teaching music, music gigs, whatever. I worked at a Starbucks when I was a kid, whatever various jobs, but I've never really gone all in with a job until this year, which is fine. I mean, it's different,
Yeah.
I work for a church, so it isn't like I would imagine it's quite different than like working for a bank, or an insurance company or something,
Yeah.
Or an advertising company, like there's, it's kind of at the root of it's about community, and it's about, spiritual, whatever, spiritual groundedness or something like that. I mean, it's also about beauty and ritual and stuff. But
that's what you work for, a church in Manhattan.
I work for a church in Manhattan. Yeah.
What religion?
It's an Episcopal church. So I'm a singer, and I do a lot of choral singing, and I've been singing in churches for a long time. Also in synagogues. I'm half Jewish. So I also had a Jewish upbringing, but I also had a Christian upbringing. But I've done more.
Sounds complicated.
It is complicated. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Those go hand in hand really well.
Yeah. I mean, well, music bridges it all.
Of course.
But
where did you grow up?
Here in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
What part?
In Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan. Yeah, Turtle Bay is the neighborhood.
I have to pick your brain about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
what in the world is it like to grow up in Midtown Manhattan?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, what can I say about that? Like, it's. I feel like I said something smart about this the other day. What was it? It's sort of like, right. It's like the anonymity. Something about anonymity. Well, I can't remember. I made a good point about this the other day, but the idea being that like I go back to the neighborhood where I grew up and fucking nobody knows me. I don't know anybody. A lot of the buildings aren't even there anymore, but there's sort of like there's an insane detachment, whereas, if I had grown up in a smaller town or maybe even in a suburb, where things change more slowly, it's like I might run into my middle school teacher, or the guy at the deli is still the guy at the deli, or the crossing guard.
That's
or whatever,
what it's kind of like where I live.
Yeah,
suburb of Chicago.
Yeah,
so.
I think a lot of places are like that. Where it's, or if you grew up in rural whatever, it's like you go back and it's sort of like a lot of people are still there. Maybe a lot of people moved away too, but whereas like I go back to the neighborhood where I grew up for the most part, on the east side of Manhattan, and like it's totally anonymous, so that's weird, I didn't have friends. It wasn't a very family oriented neighborhood, so I didn't have friends that were my age in that neighborhood. And
with all those people,
yeah,
no friends your age in the neighborhood.
No. I mean, I went to schools that I think a lot of students in New York don't really go to neighborhood schools. Maybe they're elementary school, but beyond that, you end up traveling. So
what do you mean traveling?
Like commuting to another part of town, or another.
Why don't you go to your neighborhood schools after elementary?
Yeah, why not? Because there's some choice involved in like what kind of school you want to go to, and like maybe what your neighborhood school offers isn't what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And also the sort of automatic neighborhood schools tend to not be as good. They don't have as many resources or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what my neighborhood high school would have been, but like I went to a performing arts high school.
Cool.
And then that that school is drawing students from all over the city.
So it kind of gets the best students there. Or?
In theory, in theory, yeah. It was that's a great school. It's a renowned school.
What is it like to grow up amongst so many different types of people? Tourists, steel, concrete, glass, and just utter chaos.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to tell the truth, I was gone for a while, and then I moved back to New York about 5 years ago, and I find it to be in many ways intolerable. The noise, the intensity. It just is noisy and smelly, and there's just way too many people. And
I'd say so.
Yeah. So on the one hand, it's like it's home, and I take it for granted, all of the madness. But on the other hand, I'm sort of like, yikes.
It's difficult. It's a difficult thing. I feel the same way. I mean, New York is much bigger. It's more immense than Chicago, but it's all relative. When you grow up in that type of area, people everywhere, so much to do, so many opportunities. You get a little older and you have to make the decision, like, do I want to be around the steel, the concrete, the noise, the smell, the brake dust, the pollution?
Yeah.
I can't see a star in the sky. People everywhere, the crime, the poverty, well, in New York, like utter garbage everywhere.
Yeah, literally.
Holy garbage.
Yeah.
But it comes at a cost, because then there's communities, there's endless food. Like, it's just food everywhere. So many combinations of food.
Yeah.
So much art, music, culture, theater, dance, Broadway, film, acting, architecture. I mean, you name it. It's everywhere. It's really cool. But then, I don't know. For me, I would do major cities, which I'm doing, for a couple more years, and then it's like I feel like by like 35, it's like I need to get away, close by, to where I could still work with bands and artists and teach, but not. I just can't be within it. It's just it's cool when you don't have kids and your responsibilities aren't quite that intense yet. But like a mortgage and a family, no.
Yeah, it seems intense. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty grateful to my parents that they decided to raise me in the city. I don't think that's an easy thing to do.
No, it's hard.
Yeah, but they took it for granted, and that was what was going to happen. My dad never lived anywhere else in his life, And
so he's born and raised in New York too.
Born and raised in New York, yeah. And my mom's from elsewhere. She's from California, but she spent most of her life here. And it was just, we're going to raise the kids in the city. Like, that's that.
Wild.
Yeah. Which was great because, I grew up checking out a lot of cool stuff, that my parents wouldn't have been able to show me. That, in other words, like, if we'd been living somewhere else, this is not stuff that I would have picked up in the home. It's like the jazz and, the jazz. That's kind of the big thing, the music. But also my mom was into Broadway. We used to go, we would see plays, we'd see musicals on Broadway, like not a ton.
How far was that from where you lived?
Across town, it's a 20-minute walk,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, that's super cool to be exposed to such things,
And you said you grew up Jewish and Christian. Which side of your family was which?
My dad was Jewish. My mom is Christian, or she was actually raised Mormon, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, but she's not super down with the Mormon faith. So she raised us. She took us to an Episcopal church growing up. And my parents split up. My stepfather also Jewish, so like there was a lot of Judaism around.
Yeah.
And so I was exposed to both. It's a little weird in terms of identity. Now I work at a church, and the outsider in me is sort of like, well, I'm Jewish though. I'm not, and if I'm around a bunch of Jews, I'm sort of like, well, like I'm actually Christian. It's like,
do you work there based on your faith or just for a job?
Based on my faith. I don't like what I do there in terms of like, so I produce their live stream. I like do their website. Social media to some extent, although it's really not my bag. Some I do a podcast.
Nice.
Some video production, whatever, like all that kind of media communication stuff. Like, man, like, would I do that for like Procter and Gamble or something? Like, it's kind of hard to see, So I think the fact that it is a religious institution, that it's like it's about something other than making money. It's there's a connection to the ancient past and whatever, like, tradition. Like, I think that is an element of it that is very appealing to me. And but I wouldn't say it's about faith. It isn't because like I love Jesus or something that I have this job. Whereas I have colleagues that is definitely the case. They're people of faith. And so that's a big part of the meaning for them. For me, it's sort of like it's a little bit more of a secondary thing, but it is important. It's like it is important, but I don't feel like it's like my job is a spiritual pursuit. It's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I always think about that when people work at a church, like, because I grew up going to church very much so. So I feel comfortable talking about this more than most. Very religious upbringing. And
what denomination?
Just like a non-denominational Christian. But if the closest thing to it would be like, it's a Protestant-based thing, mostly like a couple notches away from Baptist. Not nearly as strict at all, and became very secular, like a non-denominational growing up, where like we can go just like this.
Right.
People, anybody off the streets goes in, modern praise and worship songs, not singing hymns,
right,
finding elaborate ways to make the same old Bible story not so darn boring and repetitive. Just modern. Because I grew up going to the older churches where it was hymns and it was wear a suit and it was women always wear dresses and it was very strict, and that's off-putting. And just, especially when you grow up with the times, it really makes you just not want to be religious.
Yeah.
So I always wonder when people work at churches, are they very religious? Are they just doing it for a job? Is it half and half where they're like kind of have some faith, but it's really just like, yeah, I believe in that, but it's a job and I enjoy it and it's a nice community, and like it's that simple.
Yeah. I think it's probably the latter for me. It definitely isn't like a faith pursuit to have this job, but like that's a big thing that's appealing about it. And I think a lot of churches are highly dysfunctional places, as nonprofits are in general, but the church where I work is it's a good team. Like, there's good leadership. There's like good community, So in other words, I'm not saying that is a trait of churches in general.
Yeah.
But if you get those traits within a church or a nonprofit atmosphere, like that's pretty cool.
Can you elaborate on dysfunctional? You were just saying with
Oh
churches?
yeah, well I don't know. I mean, I think nonprofit pursuits in general, it's very easy for them to have a tyrant as a leader. It's very easy for like there to just be a lot of political kind of dysfunction between people. Like I don't have a lot of firsthand experience with this, a little bit, but I think, and just like
why do you say a tyrant as a leader?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's generally what happens with nonprofits. I mean,
Really?
maybe also with profit-based companies, but yeah, it's just like there's the founder, and the founder is calling the shots, and like is maybe out of touch with reality, and like there's nepotism involved, and I don't know. I just think that's sort of a classic story.
I agree. I agree with that.
And that goes down in religious institutions too.
I agree. It's why I try to like stay away from all of it. So I've seen that in churches, and I even like had friends joke about that with me and like my group of friends because it's so big, and we've all like had this DIY space for so long, and like the sessions and the fest and all these shows, and it's just like thousands of people have come through, and I'm always like, I want nothing to do with that type of place or mindset. I just want people to do their own thing, to be productive, to be happy.
Right, yeah.
I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Because then people really misjudge you and get what you just said. They start thinking that, like cult type stuff.
Yeah,
like,
the
no.
control and the power.
I don't want to control anybody. I'm just clean up after yourself. Like, don't make a mess. Use my crap. Don't break it. That's about it.
Yeah.
And like, please, like, be happy and productive. Like, I love seeing friends prevail instead of being jealous or envious.
Right.
So that's simple. So I hate when it gets people look into that too hard. So I can see why in a non-for-profit where there's a lot of like money coming in and someone kind of getting in their own way of like wanting to be that type of sociopathic leader, which happens with big companies that are for profit.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
It's just like, for some reason, when it becomes non-for-profit, it's religious. They almost like can get away with a bit more because they're doing it in the name of God or a God.
Yeah, there isn't the same kind of maybe bottom line, in a way.
Well, the Catholic Church is the greatest example of all time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think all institutions tend towards corruption.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But there is I don't know. There's also the element of like with churches of just sort of like just being kind of a gossipy environment. I think it can just be be very unhealthy.
Yeah. Which is ironic because that's the opposite of what.
Yeah. Well, totally.
Jesus promotes.
Yeah.
I'm not very religious at all, but I always joke saying I'm the most Christian person in my family. After I leave my family for, after like a party, I walk out just like, how am I like more Christian than they are? And I'm not even Christian anymore. Like the way they talk about each other, they talk about other people, the jealousy, the backstabbing, the rude comments, the lack of uplifting, and it's always like passive aggressive. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's like the further you get into, the more you feel like you get to hide behind that. And like use that as a crutch.
Well, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. And that also goes to show how much of a challenge it is to follow the teachings of Jesus. It's sort of like it's like if you really want to follow that, it's like good luck. Like that's hard. And you're gonna piss off a lot of people just like he did. So yeah, it's hard to pull off. But if you can pull some of those values and those teachings, and you can use them, in a productive way, then yeah, I mean, church doesn't have to be where you build your community, and you can be a very good and productive Christian, if you want to think of it that way, without the context of the church at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the foundation of a lot of religions, what they're preaching, what they're telling you, very wholesome, human, like kind-hearted things. Just it's so simple. Just like forgive people, be nice to people, don't be rude, don't hurt, don't steal, don't rape, don't murder. Like every religion, even every government, not every, promotes these types of things.
Yeah.
But for some reason, as soon as you have like a religious ideology and identity, a lot of people will hide behind that, and they will act those ways. They will do those things, be very hypocritical.
Yeah.
And it's that's what pushed me so far from it, just seeing that. just like keeping my eyes wide open, just seeing the hypocrisy of it all. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's a drag. Yeah, that's a drag. I mean, people don't want to pat themselves on the back for going through XYZ motions, or XYZ, what's the word? Ceremonies and stuff, but not actually really trying to live out the values. Like that's totally bogus.
Yeah. Yeah. Put your money where your mouth is, or your offering where your mouth is.
Yeah. So,
do you feel torn growing up Jewish and Christian? Like, has it been strange having both of those sides?
No, I mean, it's funny to have a divided identity. I mean, but I think it's pretty common here, in the U.S.,
That's a pretty rare one. I don't know anybody who's like, I'm half Jewish, half
Christian.
Christian.
Right. Yeah, it isn't super common. I've met a few people that are like that, but it's like you'll grow up and your mother would be black and your father would be white. It's like, okay, that's an identity thing, or it's like...
It's a good point. My dad's Mexican, my mom's European, like very white, brown. So you don't know until apparently out of nowhere it takes till 2019 and the craze of political correctness for me to finally be like, wait a minute. Now I have to think about this. It was so normal. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm Mexican. My dad's Mexican, and my mom, I'm also like Polish and English. I don't know. You don't think about it when it is you.
Yeah.
And now it's such a thing. I'm like, I don't know. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Identity.
care. I'm just a person.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. But identity. Yeah. It's true. It's like, and then at some point, it's like, yeah. Do you want to identify as Latino or Latinx, and like what part of that culture or Mexican culture played a role in your upbringing? What parts of it are you attracted to, even if they didn't play a part in your upbringing? How much of that do you want to claim?
Yeah,
maybe none of it. And then you're the other side, the white side. It's sort of like maybe there are things from your childhood that you're attached to, or things from the past that you're interested in. Maybe you find you have some Polish cousins and you want to learn to speak Polish or whatever. It's sort of like, I think that's so. In other words, like maybe the Jewish Christian thing isn't super common in the States, but I think in the States it is pretty common to have a sort of a divided identity and to have a little bit of a sort of like, okay, to what extent can I kind of pick and choose what my identity is, and what does that mean for who I am, and so I think those questions are pretty common, and they're probably a little bit even less fraught. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but like I have a good friend who I play music with, who one side is Indian and then the other side is white, and she feels like she can't be white because she doesn't look white, but she can't be Indian because of all of her Indian family. It's like she's queer, and like her Indian family is very conservative, and like she doesn't speak whatever language. So it's sort of like, that sounds way more fraught than like my Christian Jewish thing. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of Jewish people can pass off as just like Eastern European, Ashkenazi Jew. It's different when it becomes like a true ethnicity divide, which I know a lot of people like that. I like my brother's slightly darker skin than I, but same parents, so it like genes play a role. Like I don't know, before you met me, what ethnicity would you have assumed I was? I actually get Jewish a lot.
Oh yeah,
I get that all the time.
Oh, that's funny.
All the time, but people are always very confused.
Yeah,
like by what I am.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if I hadn't seen your last name, that was one of the first things that I saw.
Dead giveaway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that last name, but I was assuming it was Spanish, or Portuguese or something.
It's It's a city in Spain. Very Spanish.
Right. It looks like the double L and stuff. Yeah. So it's like, seeing you is sort of like, okay, maybe he's like Colombian or something, But yeah, if you were just Ben, sure, it's like, oh, maybe he's Jewish,
Benjamin, that's a Hebrew name.
Yeah.
Maybe Joseph is his middle name. That's still Hebrew. Okay, 2 Hebrew names in a row.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's all,
I've had people text me that are Jewish or reach out like on Jewish holidays.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
that's
know,
funny.
and I'm just like, I'm so glad that I'm me and I just don't care, and this is hilarious. But some people would get mad at that for whatever reason. It's like, it's a simple mistake. But it's just funny that that's how much people think I am Jewish. That I don't even know them that well, and they're just like, oh, happy whatever. Or it's like, that's so funny. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, that is funny. Wow.
So was music a big part of your family, or was it something that are you the only musician? Do you have siblings? Did they play? If you do,
yeah, I have a brother, my older brother. That's who was calling. He lives around the corner, actually. He plays a little bit of music, but he was never that super serious about music. My father loved music. He liked to sing. He was really into opera, but he didn't have any musical training. And then my mom is a dancer. She's got great rhythm. But
okay.
she does play piano. For a few years when I was a teenager, she was taking piano lessons. She was playing some Chopin and stuff,
cool.
So
Nice.
she's got a musical sense, absolutely. But I didn't grow up in like a musical family. Like I don't play music.
But
with
music
my family.
lovers.
Yeah, definitely.
So
music
at least that was
appreciators,
around.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like people say, like, oh, everyone loves music. No, people enjoy music. People are into it. But there's a difference. I know a few people. My dad is one of them. Like my mom likes music. She enjoys it. My dad is obsessed. Like,
Oh, really?
he has such cool stories. He was the guy in the 70s, south side of Chicago, that he would record vinyl onto like 1-inch tape and do one song at a time and mix up and make like mixtapes on 1-inch tape and then go to parties and essentially like be the DJ on all night and have like, 4 or 5 hours of different songs recorded on the tape and played over the sound system. And he's always providing the sound. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I do it in a more modern way. But I was always the sound system provider, always bringing all the gear.
Yeah.
So he was like obsessed with music. Went to a club every night.
What's his? Is there a particular kind of music that he's into, or?
Everything, but I'd say mostly he did blues, jazz, classic rock, reggae. He grew up in the 70s. He played drums in a band. He loves drums, loves music, but obsessed. Whenever I see him now, that's all he has on. He's always putting on music. He's queuing it up. Yeah. He's sitting there. He's singing. He's tapping to it. I could tell he's a drummer because he's always doing something with his hand. Yeah. And there is like that type of person. My best friend Eddie's dad's the same way, obsessed with music, always buying the most recent thing, going to concerts still, like one of the only dads at like a modern concert, knows new artists, isn't stuck in 1979, but knows like who's out now, stuff like that. But then there's like passive people who are like, I don't know, I like what I grew up with, put some music on, they just don't care what it is, they just want something. Yeah. And then there's people who just don't go into it at all, and they're extremely passive. They're just like, I don't know, put something on. Yeah. And they like just don't really care. Yeah. And then there's people like you and I who obsess over it. Yeah. I went to school to record it. You went to school to perform it. I play in bands still to this day. I've been in bands, for 15, 16 years. Always putting out records, always recording, always doing something with sound. Yeah. And I'm assuming you have been too in some way, shape, or form. Very analytical of it. And that's where I think what I mentioned earlier, where you can be so consumed by it that you can kind of forget that magic sometimes, that romance of like the love of music, falling back in love with it. Yeah, I find smoking weed helps with that. Smoking weed helps with that? It's sort of like, if you like want to get out of the normal ruts of your thinking or whatever and just like, I mean, the music better be good, but if I find that can really light me up. Like no pun intended. Like if I hear something new, like after smoking or something like that, you can kind of hear with fresh ears a little bit, you know. Anyway. Yeah, I agree. Marijuana. I didn't start smoking too much later, and I'm glad I waited. I think it first of all allowed me to develop properly, which is sad because sometimes people start too early and it really messes with their brain. But I'm glad because it gave me so many years of just taking in stuff for what it was, and then to have that like adult juxtaposition of like a mature mind that was able to grow and see things sober for so long. Yeah, it allows me to have a control over that divide. Like I can go into something sober, I can go into it stone, and go back and forth. It's not super innate to me, and it's great. It's even the paranoia I invite sometimes. I'll get there and I'll be so paranoid. But realize it's just me stressing out about something I need to either stop stressing out about, work on it, or address it. Right. And like that's okay. And then once you admit that to yourself while you're stoned, then you're like, okay, then this record I'm about to put on is gonna be great. Or, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. As long as you have that. I mean, I think it becomes clear for me sometimes if I get high, the level of social anxiety that I actually do experience, So if it's a question of like getting high and then the paranoia that you're talking about,
is related to just like not being able to deal with people and the interactions between people and how much that stresses me out. Like even just listening to people talk, like not even participating, like it stress me out. Then it's sort of like there. I find, you know, it's like maybe that's something I have to work on, but also like that's just a problem that isn't going to go away in the moment. Like so, like somebody put on some good music, you know, or like let's watch a movie or like let's check out the stars, because like that paranoia, like it can be rooted to something that is very real that like that isn't really curable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just your context. It's like the context sucks. Like there's a really loud air conditioner. I'm fucked. You know, you're fucked. Like you're never going to be comfortable. You're never going to be happy. Like, and that becomes much more intense if you're in an altered state, you know.
You said you have like a social anxiety?
I would say so. I mean, it isn't at all debilitating, but I think like
it's there.
It's there, and I relate to that maybe most through like talking about paranoia. It's like you smoke some weed, you get paranoid. It's just sort of like, oh, like A person hates B person, and B person is actually in love with C, and I'm just watching all this, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is way too much for me. Like, oh, I can't handle this. Like, I don't want to talk to any of these people. You know.
Have you always had that type of situation?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. That which is why, you know, for me, like I'm down with smoking pot. Like, for sure, but it's got to be like we're gonna smoke weed and we're gonna watch this movie. You know, we're gonna smoke weed, we're gonna play this music. You know, we're gonna smoke weed, we're gonna go walk on this beach. You know, it isn't like we're gonna smoke weed and hang around.
Yeah,
I don't fucking roll with that.
Yeah,
because it's just that's it's too intense for me.
Okay.
You know, it's not like they're.
What about alcohol?
I don't drink that much.
Just lightly.
Yeah, just a little. Like, I mean, I wanted to have a drink. It's been a long week. Like, playing is, you know, it's there's an intensity to it, and it's nice to have a drink to unwind. But I wouldn't say. So it's there's a utility in it for that, you know, in terms of just like taking the edge off. But I wouldn't say I like use it the same way that I use weed. It's sort of like, oh, it's like we're gonna watch X movie. It's like, I want to get high.
Yeah.
For this purpose, you know.
I agree.
You know, I'm not like I want to have a few drinks so that X. Like, drinking doesn't really get me anywhere. You know?
There's drinking it's fun, but it could be super downward spiral with that. You know, it's hard. I usually consume the most when I'm like on vacation. Like here in New York, it's kind of like a vacation for me. Yeah. Like I've been working still, recording bands, doing this, but also like editing and like doing stuff for school, like getting ready. But I find myself like I usually don't really drink Monday through Friday, like nothing really at all. But I find myself having a couple of drinks every night. But it's like I'm also celebrating. Like this is a big deal for me, and I usually only drink, you know, a couple drinks a night in a row if I'm like vacation or celebrating. Yeah, and it means a lot to me. Then I go back to like life, and I don't do that for the next, you know, 3-4 months until I'm in that situation again. However long it is, I don't really think about it, and that's how I know I feel okay with it. It's like when it happens, I go for it, and then when it's not happening, I just stay focused and live life. Yeah, you know, even weed I had to calm down on because it was making me lose it. Yeah. So really? Well, just over COVID, there was nothing to do.
Oh yeah. I didn't smoke very much last year, man.
I smoked too much. I'd be bored every day.
Life was too scary.
I would just smoke and go on walks, which was nice. It's very therapeutic, but you come home and you're like, I'm still high. I gotta still smoke more. And then like, there's nothing to do. And I don't know. I'm glad I did it because I never had a stint in my life where I smoked a lot. And I did for like a month. Yeah. I think it was like March or April. I smoked like every day. And then I stopped. And I was like, now I only do it once in a while, like maybe once on a Saturday or something. Like, kick back, watch something cool. Oh, we're gonna put on this, you know, 4K disc on this new sound system, something cool like that. Yeah. Or just anything where it's like a heightened experience to enjoy it. It's fun. It's nice.
Yeah. I find for me it just helps me focus a little bit. You know, life is
hard.
Yeah, life is fucking hard. Life is hard, and life just gets you into a certain rhythm, and you can't necessarily. It's okay. The week is over. The day is over. The month is whatever. You know, it's like okay, stop, go somewhere new. It's like you can't necessarily just decide. It's like okay, I want to change my frame of mind because my day is over, and now I'm at the show. I got to play this show. Like, now I want to focus up on the music. It's like you can't just necessarily decide to do that, but I'm sure that for a lot of people, alcohol helps with that. For me, I don't feel like drinking ever made me a better musician ever.
I hate drinking. And
Yeah,
playing.
I mean,
I don't do that at all.
Yeah,
I
a lot of
will
people
not do it.
Yeah, a lot of people that's their thing.
I don't even like
But-
smoking and playing.
Right. Oh yeah, I like smoking.
It makes me feel like I'm messing up all the time.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. I mean,
Because I'm like, I get paranoid. I'm like, that was sloppy. With alcohol, you're like, it's sloppy and I don't care.
Yeah.
With
who
weed, you're
gives a
like,
fuck?
I don't even know if this is sloppy, but
Yeah.
I do care way too much. So it's a weird place to
That's
be.
funny. Yeah. I mean, I find for me, it just helps me focus. Like I was saying before, it's just sort of like it can just kind of flip a little switch, and it doesn't take very much at all.
Well, it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
That's a strange drug. It's not the same for everyone.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
When
But,
did you start smoking weed?
I guess in high school.
High school?
Yeah, smoking weed and like listening to music, listening to like Miles Davis and stuff.
I was just watching a documentary on him on Netflix last night.
Oh yeah.
It was good. I liked it a lot. I mean, I've always enjoyed jazz. Like, I was watching my girlfriend and I watched Whiplash on Sunday.
Oh, right,
I've
yeah.
seen it like twice. I like it a lot, but
Mhm.
she never saw it. She's really into jazz. And wow, what an intense movie! Have you ever seen it?
No, I've had it recommended to me. But
It's a cool movie.
Yeah.
I think it won like best sound mixing and sound editing and film editing
Right,
and
yeah.
supporting actor. It's a great movie, but documentaries about jazz. Did you see Summer of Soul on Hulu? That documentary about the festival that happened in 1969 in Harlem
Oh,
that Questlove directed.
I heard about it. My medium is radio. My addiction is radio. The way that people are like addicted to their phones or whatever.
like
I'm-
modern radio.
I just listen to the fucking radio.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So I hear about all this stuff, but I actually really don't watch stuff.
yeah.
Like I really, really hardly watch stuff. So it's like, oh yeah, I heard all about that, but I heard an interview about it, probably with Questlove,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
didn't see it because I don't
Check
see
it out.
anything.
It's pretty sweet. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's really sad actually how much it was swept under the rug,
Right.
and because it happened, I believe, a month or two before Woodstock.
Right.
And besides a few people playing, Woodstock was kind of more towards the white crowd.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
white people. Whereas Summer of Soul was all black.
Yeah.
And it was in Harlem. And it's clear as day what went on there, where they're just kind of like, because it was awesome, completely equivalent, on par, if not almost better and more unique performances than Woodstock. But it was completely forgotten. No one even knew about it. I'm into music more than most. I put on my own festival. I never heard of this in my life.
Yeah.
And if I haven't heard about it and no one in my world ever told me about it, no one knows about it.
Yeah, right.
It's
exactly.
sad. Like, you
Yeah.
didn't know about it, and you grew up here.
Yeah.
So, like, it was just kind of forgotten. And then the footage was found, and they re-edited and remixed it, and it's amazing. You should
Yeah.
check it out. It's extremely beautiful.
Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, I should watch it.
Summer of Soul.
Summer of Soul.
Did growing up in New York on the East Coast, do you as a kid or in high school, like, do you leave a lot? Where are the places people go? Because it's such a big, dense area, and there's so much culture
Yeah.
here. What people do for fun vacation? Where do you go
Yeah,
around
where do you
here?
go? Around here? I don't know.
Well, like
yeah.
leaving the city.
Yeah,
what would
leaving
people
the city.
do?
I mean, my family, we used to go out to Montauk, actually, which is at the
Ah.
end of Long Island.
Yeah.
And this was before it was cool. I mean, from what I hear, the past 10 years or something, like the sort of the what's a really good pejorative word? Like the let's say ugliness, like the ugliness of the Hamptons has sort of crept further eastward, and at a certain point it reached Montauk. It
So the
took
Hamptons is before
yeah, the
Montauk.
Hamptons is before Montauk.
And that's
yeah.
where, like,
that's where
all the wealthy people go.
that's where the wealthy people go. Yeah, that's where the wealthy people go, and
summer houses and stuff.
summer houses, and like the wealthy people and the famous people, and it's a lot of
I've never heard anything good about it.
BS. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're if you're like Puff Daddy or what, I'm sure they're great parties, but and the beaches are great, and like people probably have very fabulous houses, but like that's the scene, and it has. And then also just a lot of kind of douchey people, douchey dudes,
No.
and douchey women. Yeah,
Rich people
Yeah,
in the
right.
Hamptons?
Exactly. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
come on.
So like,
It doesn't make sense.
yeah. So it's just like whatever the douchey scene, like it has sort of crept further eastward, and Montauk is like pretty far. So for a really long time, people just didn't bother to go that far. But from what I've heard, there's a lot of douchey people out there. Whereas like, when I was growing up, yeah, we used to go out there once a year, sometimes twice a year. My dad would fish.
How far away? Like 3 hour
It's
drive?
like a 3 hour drive or so, yeah. And it's a sleepy town. It was like fishing town, you know, and not and kind of a working class, like fishing probably kind of sort of shitty place to live, you know, but also quiet and remote, and like the beach is beautiful and so on. So yeah, we used to go out there.
I'd love to go there. Maybe
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
these days I come here with my car, I'll drive out there.
Yeah, you should. I mean, and now would probably be the wrong time to go. I would go in like October, November, or something like that. You know, the weather won't be as nice, but like Montauk is kind of supposed to be empty. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed
like right
to
now
be
it's
quiet.
bumping because it's August.
Yeah. I'm sure like right now, you know, it's just like a lot of mayhem out there. You know?
The only thing that reminds me of Montauk is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh right, yeah, sure.
When he's he ditches work, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
His character Joel, and he's just like, I think I'm gonna get on a train to Montauk, and he goes
Yeah.
there, and it's like kind of cold. He's at the beach. That's
Yeah.
where he meets Clementine.
Yeah.
Or Caesar. And that's like my only like thought of that whole thing.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of captures it in a way. It's like there's a magic to it, but it's also kind of a drab place, you know, and it's also just like the end of the line.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Did you grow up where you grew up in Manhattan? Was there a lot of times you'd find yourself in uncomfortable situations with like wealthier people? Or is that not exactly where you were? Was it such an issue or a problem?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, hard to say. I mean, my stepfather made money, and he came from a wealthy family. So I'd say the uncomfortable interactions with wealthy people happened within the context of my extended family.
That's where it gets most uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like when I was a teenager, my mom and my stepfather actually moved to Connecticut, to a town called Greenwich, which is a very well-to-do town.
Because you're not from Connecticut. You're from.
No, I grew up in the city.
You grew up in.
Yeah.
So where is that in Connecticut?
It's like an hour from here. It's just over the border. It's the first town in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's a very hoity-toity kind of fancy place.
Hoity-toity.
Yeah. So that was always less fun.
Would you go there?
Yeah, I went there and I divided my time between there. My mom wanted me to go to school up there, and I was sort of like not down. And
no.
Yeah. It was just it was such a.
Did you feel like out of place?
It was such a drag. Yeah, I went to school. I went to a middle school out there for like 3 days, and I was just like, it was such a drag, man. It was such a fucking drag.
Go further into what made it such a drag.
Well, I mean, look, like it could have been, it was middle school. So like it's going to be hard at a new school no matter what the new school is. But like I had gone from the school that I was going to in the city, which was just like what I knew and kind of what, I don't know, was just like, it was in the city. It was like had the vibrance of the city, very diverse school, and like, it was just what I knew, and also in a way what our culture values. It's like our culture kind of values like the I mean, ultimately, our culture just wants you to go fucking work for a bank or whatever. But the media, I'd say to a great extent, it values the city. It values the vibrance of the city and the diversity and the different cultures and all this kind of shit. And like what's cool comes from the city. That's where the cool is, And so I went from like being where the cool was to like being in the suburbs, which also wasn't diverse and also wasn't interesting, but it also just wasn't fucking cool, And so I showed up there and I was just like, I was the new kid and I could see the teasing starting to happen already on like day one. And
were you 7th grade or 8th grade?
7th grade, yeah.
I went to a new school in 8th grade, so I know what that feels like.
Yeah, it's fucking, it's a bad situation. And so yeah, it was super rough, and it's just like very waspy there in Greenwich, and just like everybody's well off, and it was just sort of like it was really a drag. I mean, if I had gone to Greenwich High School, I mean, it's like one of the best public high schools in the galaxy, because they have so much fucking tax money. You can like study rocket science probably and whatever, play lacrosse. But
do you find it to be a problem though? I do.
What's that? Like that either a public school that has great taxes or a private school, like
it's unfair because all it does is breed that wealth to keep growing.
Right.
Instead of spreading the wealth, it just keeps it focused in a place where those kids get the better education, the better teachers, the better tutoring, the better everything. And it's safer the whole time.
Yeah.
So you get socially, economically, and educationally, you get all of it. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's fair to...
Totally, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's crappy. I mean, I think for the individuals, you know, it's like maybe you get a better education or whatever. So that's great. It's good to get a good education. It's good to have the attention of your teachers, you know, and not just be a number. But yes, on a systemic level, it totally sucks.
Yeah,
you know,
it's terrible.
Yeah, so
it's the problem. It's literally the problem we have.
It is the problem. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It is emblematic of the problem in our society. So whatever. I don't know. Maybe I would have discovered things and gotten a good education there. But it just wasn't. It wasn't what I wanted. And so my mom was down enough. She was like, okay, like you want to go back to the city, you go back to the city.
That's
and of course I got back to my high school junior high school Wagner. You know, like on day 4 of the school year, it's like nobody had even noticed I wasn't there.
At least it was a few days.
Yeah, my teachers were like, oh, you know.
That's cool your mom let you go back. Some parents would be like, no, you're doing this.
Yeah,
That's nice that she didn't force you.
Yeah, totally. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. So,
you know what's fun, though? I guess it's not fun. Might be funny, but I realize that it can be uncomfortable for people who are maybe from, like, lesser means or more of a working class to, like, be around people who aren't, or wealthier people or people who have more money, better education. But the same is true for them. It's actually uncomfortable for them to be around people that aren't like them. Like, it's really just a tribalism type of thing.
Yeah,
you start to realize that. Because I've been around people who are from a higher financial situation, and they're just kind of, when they tell you about it, they're just kind of like, they feel different or awkward about people. They don't even know what to do. And it's like, oh, so it's the same feeling. It just kind of switched. You realize that the humans just want to belong, and if they don't feel like something's matching up, they feel uncomfortable. They feel like social anxiety. They feel bad. They might even feel guilty. You know.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, totally. And I think like you know, I've my upbringing or whatever was privileged in many ways, and I think one of the ways that my upbringing was privileged was that I was exposed to like really like what the kind of the ultra rich vibe is. Like my stepsister, her stepfather, so like if you feel like doing that math, you know, but like anyway, you know, like I've been around people that are like literally like the ultra
like
wealthy.
millionaires,
straight billionaires, you know,
billionaires.
Oh yeah. Like straight up,
Wait.
My stepsister's stepfather is he's like a Swiss hedge fund guy. He's literally a billionaire.
Oh my god!
So I've been around that. You know, like
I've never been
her wedding was insane. It was insane.
How much do you think this wedding cost?
Like half $1,000,000 or something.
So how many lives could have been saved?
Yeah, right, exactly. But so anyway, I don't know. I mean, but that's a privilege, I guess, because it's like access or whatever. That wasn't really a privilege that I've decided to use. But it's also a privilege because it's you can sort of see, and it's sort of like, okay, like these people aren't like happy or fulfilled or whatever. They're just in their own super weird world, and I think there are a lot of people that sort of strive to be ultra wealthy, but like I think it was really cool to be exposed to that and know that like actually like that isn't what I'm interested in. There's no mystery or mystique to it because I spent some time with those people and saw what those people do, and it's sort of like, well, I'm not interested in that. So that's great, you know, because I think a lot of people in America are sort of like they're trying to get rich,
obsessed with it,
you know, and it's sort of like I feel like I've had the privilege of seeing like, oh yeah, being rich, like, you know, like there are better things, you know, like I don't know, like that whole culture is just like super unappealing, you know, like I mean it's great to have money, of course,
well,
you know,
at a certain point, enough money to like live and be healthy, be safe, not stressed out like, what am I going to eat today? Like, how am I supposed to eat? I've been there many times, just like I got $5. I think I can get a slice of pizza, and I'll split it, and then it'll last me 2 days. I get paid Friday. It's Tuesday. Crap. I had to borrow $20 from a friend just to afford like PB&J and a frozen pizza to get by until Friday. Like that has happened so many times that now that I don't feel that way, or I'm in a situation where I don't have to think about that, I have to think bigger picture now. I have to think like, okay, I have to save up money to like buy a house. I gotta like I gotta like pay off my
borrow
car.
$20 from my friend so I could buy a house.
I gotta like I'm trying to pay off my car. Like, but the scale, like the stress is there, but it scales up, and you realize, oh, if you have $1 billion now, that my airplane, my yacht, my
right,
butler,
exactly,
my caretaker, my private doctor, my private, like it just scales up to what it is, what like the stress you feel now. So there's that sweet middle ground of like, you hear the number, $70,000. I think it depends on where you live. In Brooklyn, that wouldn't fly. You wouldn't be like, I'm sitting pretty.
Yeah.
You can still survive, but it just wouldn't be like. I think it depends on where you are, but I don't know. I think at a certain point, you really don't need beyond like as an individual like $100,000.
Yeah. I guess depending where you are, but I mean it's there are just people that just continually strive.
And I know people who live off way less than that, and they're just fine.
Oh yeah,
way
sure.
Less.
I mean, I've been living on very little for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
You know,
that's why I still have a bunch of roommates.
Yeah, right.
I'm right there. I feel you.
Yeah. You can totally make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's fucked up because so many people in our country have just amassed like such a huge proportion of the wealth, and it's just sort of like, it's like, why, guys? Like, what, like what are they after?
It's a problem because chances are if you're making billions or hundreds of millions of tens of millions, if you're just in that place where you're just beyond like tens of millions of dollars in wealth, I don't care who you are, chances are more than not someone's being hurt somewhere. You're exploiting somebody somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Someone's dying somewhere. Something bad is happening to someone somewhere for you to be a billionaire. Like, I don't care who you are. How do you have that money?
Right.
You can walk it backwards.
Yeah.
You probably own a lot of stuff, and that stuff's probably why you have all that money, because someone else isn't making enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we live in a very unequal society and in a very unequal world. I mean, I think we're all implicated in the suffering of others, and I think it's a great fallacy that people are chasing that they could somehow be free of that.
Yeah.
Especially sort of in our sort of more progressive and liberal world. It's like, forget it. Like, you think you're gonna like get away from being implicated in the suffering and the war machine. It's like, no. You know, I mean, you can minimize it. And you can act to minimize it, but it's like we're all implicated.
Yeah.
But those that are making 100,000 times more money than we are 100,000 times more implicated in it.
Yeah.
So they have more responsibility. Absolutely.
It's a dilemma I face every day where I'm just like, I could try to make more money off things I'm doing, or I could like try to grow what makes me happy and like what makes other people happy and what's fun.
Yeah.
And find a balance between that. But at a certain point, if you have that much money and you're making that much money, other people are really suffering. And I hate the story of like, well, they work really hard. It's like, yeah, I know a lot of people work really hard and they don't have anything.
Yeah, whatever.
I know plenty of people who work 2-3 jobs.
Yeah.
15 hours a day, 6 days a week. Maybe they take off Sunday, and they only make like $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
So like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, more than not, people who make a lot of money work a lot. They do. That's just. They're chasing their money, of course.
But it's not proportional.
But I know a lot of people who do that. So, like, that's a bad excuse.
Yeah, totally.
Most people work a lot. I work a lot. Mm-hmm. People work all the time. Like, there are people who are not as productive or a little bit more lazy, but that's not who we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea or a bad excuse when you hear, oh, like, they work really hard for the money, they work a lot. It's like, dude, everyone who's trying to survive works a lot. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's very few people make good money and don't really work a lot.
Yeah.
And very few people who have a family and are trying to survive and have a car and pay for their kid to go to college, they're working a lot too.
Yeah,
it's just a different way. It's just a job or a title that's not as respectable. Maybe they didn't go to college. Maybe they don't have a job that has associate or executive in front of it.
Yeah.
And that's it. But they're doing really hard work. My dad worked extremely hard his whole life. He never made anything, and not anything. He didn't make what he should have. He was not valued properly. A company that was the steel industry. I mean, the steel industry.
Yeah,
everything is steel.
Right.
Yeah. For some reason, the people that are making it all happen, and shipping it, and packaging it, and forklifting, and crane operating, they're like, $19 an hour.
Yeah,
in a
man.
warehouse, and you know the heat we're living today. Imagine that every day in the summer, just shipping metal, and that's all you're getting.
Yeah.
And
it's so harsh. It's so harsh. But yeah, that's the deal. That's the deal that we've all.
We need to rewire our value.
Yeah, we need a new deal. But yeah, that's been the deal for the past, I don't know, 40, 50 years in this country. You know, it's and it seems to only be getting worse. I don't know. I mean, we don't need to go into that topic, but
I mean, we
but
can
it's
go
like,
wherever we
yeah, I don't know. I remember reading something in the Times about like, you know, the government is, you know, spending trillions of dollars, and like what they were, the goal of one of these initiatives was to slow the acceleration of the wealth inequality. It's like forget about stopping the acceleration of the wealth inequality. Forget about turning around wealth equality. Like the best that they could do with trillions of dollars was to slow the acceleration rate of wealth inequality. It's like we're so deep in this wealth inequality, on this wealth inequality path. It's like to turn it around. I mean, it's
a big ship.
Yeah, it's not gonna be easy. But anyway,
I'm trying. It's hard.
Well, you're trying to make $1 billion.
No, I don't want that much money ever. I would like to not have debt of any kind. Mm-hmm. So whatever that means, just no debt, like no car payment. And then like
right.
Have an easy time paying off like a mortgage. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And like do what I love to do.
Yeah.
You know, and travel and do what I love to do and do what I did here today with you everywhere in the country and everywhere in the world. You know, that's the goal, is to just do sessions and podcasts everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, and if there are people out there that appreciate what you're doing, that should totally be enough. You know.
Yeah.
That should be enough. But
it's hard though. You have to make money to live.
Yeah.
And you know, a place like Brooklyn's expensive.
Yeah. It's cool.
You know, this is not a cheap place at all. Even like the items I buy at the store, it's everything. The simplest things like $1, $2 more. It's like an avocado by me is $1.99. Here it's $2.99.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, but like you're like, oh, it's only $1. It's like that is like a 50% or 100% markup. Like,
yeah, right.
One was 2 and now it's 3, so it just went up a whole 50%.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So if everything does that, then
everything does that around here. I'm like, why is it so expensive? Like that's weird. I went to this place, had good tacos, $5. By me, they're like $2.53.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I pay $5 for it? I mean, it was a good taco, but
it's
nearly double what I'm used to paying.
Yeah, totally.
So it's an expensive place.
Yeah, it's an expensive town.
Sure. Why did you choose Brooklyn out of all places?
I mean, I think it's where the action is, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, for in a lot of different kinds of action, but yeah, like where sort of the venues are and where friends are playing and where, where people are playing music. You know, it's kind of in this North Brooklyn kind of vibe. I mean, places in Manhattan too, but less so.
It's a sweet area. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. It's daunting.
Yeah.
But I could see the appeal so much.
Yeah.
You know, I've been walking a lot. I've probably walked like, I don't even know, 30, 40 miles since in the last week.
Yeah.
And it's just been really cool learning the area, seeing everything. I've been yelled at so many times. I am such a tourist. Well,
yelled at for?
Just taking up the bike lane, just like someone screaming at me. I'm like, I didn't know where I was. I'm like trying to figure this out. Like people in cars. I drove a couple times, people in cars yelling at me. Like,
totally.
This one guy... Today, I'm going to Walgreens to pick up batteries for the recording device to record on a rooftop. And this guy drives past the parking spot in Walgreens. So I'm like, oh, cool. And I take it. And he comes back up to me. He's like, that's my spot. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. You, like, went past it. And he's like, I went past it so I could reverse into. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. You like, there's no signal, like, nothing. Yeah. He was, like, screaming at me. And that was really nice. I was like, okay, I'll get out of the way. You can have it. I get what you were doing. You just were not good at making it obvious.
Yeah.
And he was just mad the whole time. I was like, dude, I was nice about it.
Right.
You're the one I think he was more mad because he's like, crap, I made the mistake of not indicating, like, I'm taking the spot.
Right.
No signal, nothing, just went past it.
Yeah. And then after you were like, okay, he was still just like, well, yeah, you better get out of that spot or whatever.
He was like pissed. Yeah. I was like, all right. I've been yelled at so many times. This woman yelled at me yesterday in Manhattan. I was like, getting out of the bike lane off the Williamsburg Bridge. I didn't realize it, like, the pathway turned into a bike lane. And she just screamed at me, like, get out of the bike lane. I was like, I didn't know. It just turned into it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just made the mistake.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I'm looking at all these buildings, trying to figure out where I'm at. I'm walking everywhere. I mean, I walked from Bushwick and Johnson to like the middle of Manhattan, like 4 miles across the bridge. Is great.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, it's funny because I don't have these problems in Chicago. I never get.
Yeah.
I know how to do everything. How to navigate. And here I'm like, I just feel like a dork. People are
That's
screaming
funny.
at
Yeah,
me.
I mean, but the thing is, there are just so many people in the city.
God, there's
like
too
I
many
always,
people here.
I mean, that's kind of how it feels. Like this, apparently, this is the number of people that it takes to have the things that are here that we want, you know. But yeah, I always notice that when it's like, I don't know, it's like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm like on some side street, and it's like I still managed to like be in somebody's way. You know what I mean? There's so many people everywhere all of the time that it's like, even if you're just like standing on the street listening to some music like in the middle of the sidewalk, and there's literally, it's the middle of the night, you know, or looking at your phone or whatever, it's like somebody will like push you out of the way. You know what I mean? It's like there's just like there's shit happening everywhere all the time.
Everyone is so ruthless. I think people who live here are so used to it because everyone who lives there is just like, yeah, it's a great place. People are nice. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're blind and also you're biased.
Right.
Because they got the best pizza. It's like,
yeah.
Any place that's notorious for food is going to be good at it.
Right.
Like, that's why they're notorious for the food. I don't know if you didn't know that's how it works, but it is.
Yeah.
So if it's like, New York's good for hot dogs and pizza. What else is good for hot dogs and pizza? Chicago. So clearly they're both good, and everyone's just like, no, that one's better. It's like, why does it just so happen to be that people from New York say New York's better, and people from Chicago say Chicago? Maybe this tribalism bias thing's going on. Like, it's so obvious. They're both good. They're both different, apples and oranges, and they're both really good. I like them both. I'm so biased towards Chicago pizza. It's what I know. It's what I grew up with. There's the sauce, way more of cheese on it, way less cheese here. They're just different. It's just different, but like they're really good. They're just different. So like I can't help but lean towards my home, like what I know my whole life, having pizza every Friday night.
Right, without the illusion of like that means that it's the best.
But I can get to like, I can't help but love that one more, but I'm fully aware like they're both really good for different reasons. And no one else can share that with me. Everyone's like, no.
People have to have their thing. Yeah, I was hanging out with some people the other day in Crown Heights, and one of them was like, man, the B46 is just the best bus in the city. And I'm just like, no, it's just your bus.
Yeah.
There's nothing good about, you know what I mean?
Have you taken every bus?
Yeah, right, exactly.
I hate when someone goes to a city or is talking about a city like, that city sucks. Like, really? You went everywhere in the whole city.
Yeah, right.
You saw all of Boston. You just know the whole thing, and now you can go, that city sucks.
Yeah.
You went there one time. You went to an Airbnb or hotel. You went to a game. You went and got food. You walked around. You didn't like a couple of things. You're like, this city sucks. It's like, there's millions of people. Like, how are you going to just judge the whole thing? I get it all the time with Chicago. People coming in like, the city sucks. It's like, really? Because everyone who lives there loves it. So I think it's because you haven't seen any of it and you're comparing it to where you're from.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with New York. This is the best city ever. It's like, really? I can't drive anywhere. I can't do anything. I have been walking everywhere. I have a car here, but it's almost faster to walk. And I've been walking everywhere. I walked here today with a bunch of gear, half mile, because it's like driving, losing my parking spot, trying to find a new one, waiting in line.
Oh, no, yeah. That doesn't
all
make any
these
sense.
ridiculous one-ways. I'm just like, what's the point?
Yeah, no, you don't want to drive. I mean, I've never owned a car, and
I know most people who live around here don't.
Yeah,
like my partner doesn't own a car. It's hilarious. I'm just like, I live in the suburbs. You have to have a car.
Yeah,
you have to have a car.
Yeah, there are a lot of places where you need a car.
It's a perfect middle ground. Like, I go to the city a lot. Chicago's not hard to find parking because it's packed, but Brooklyn has nearly as many in population as Chicago, and it's one borough. So
right.
Think about that.
Right.
When I was born on Wikipedia and I saw that, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's disturbing.
Right.
One spot has, I think Chicago's like 2.9 and Brooklyn's like 2.7 million.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that close. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Brooklyn was a separate city.
Till 1898, right?
Yeah, relatively recently.
Relatively recent. Yeah, well, settled in 1630.
It's not probably
before I came
here,
I read a lot about it.
Yeah.
I like to like know where things are.
Yeah,
I
that
walked
sounds
so
about
much,
right.
people were stopping me, asking me. I was eating a taco yesterday, and this guy with the earbuds in, because I'm by myself, this guy taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, "Hey, do you know where Humboldt is? And what was it, Metropolitan?" I'm like, for some reason I knew. I was like, "Yeah, you're gonna want to go 2 blocks that way." And he's like, "Thanks." I'm like, that guy has no idea I've been here for 5 days. I don't know where anything is, but for some reason I remembered where it was.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
another person asked me, like, "Hey, where's Fifth?" And I was like, I didn't want to say like we're around Third, so like do the math. But I was like, 2 blocks that way. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, thanks." I was like, okay, this is funny. I've given 2 directions. I don't know where anything is, but I've just been walking it and just paying attention.
Right.
And I feel like
That goes
within a
long way.
year, I'm gonna know this whole place like the back of my hand. It's
I mean, it's pretty big, but
I'm gonna walk everywhere. I walk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a big. I would usually like back home for exercise. I do like
Mm-hmm.
5-6 miles every day. So that's what I've been doing to make up for it here.
that's the way to get around here.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I bike. That's my way
bike.
of getting around. You know,
I'm not biking just yet.
it's intense. Yeah.
It's intense. I'm like, let me learn this more, and then I'll graduate to bike.
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
I'll start using the train more in public transportation once I
Yeah.
learn that, because that's a whole nother beast.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah. It's not super appealing this time of year. Like, and
my
you have to wear a
God.
mask these days, so it's just like,
95 degrees, a mask
Yeah.
piled with like a
It's
million
like-
people.
yeah, it's like really hot down there.
Why do we
and
do
you
it? Why
gotta
do
wear
people
a
love it here so
mask
much
and-
when it's just pure pain
Yeah.
and torture
Yeah.
and hell?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, you've been here your whole life. You could probably give a good answer. Why?
Dude, I don't know. I'm thinking about getting out of here.
You should. I'm not living here forever.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
already established that in my circumstance. Like a couple of years,
Yeah.
I'll do the Chicago, New York city thing. It's pretty fun. It's fun again when you don't have like family obligations and like
Right,
you're just trying to
right.
figure out stuff. So you're just having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm having fun. I'm like ordering pizza at random places, going to the park, recording new bands, doing this, just like having
Yeah.
fun. And this is the time to do it. I've never done this. I didn't go away to college. I just commuted. I never
Right.
did the leave.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exciting. I mean,
So-
there's a lot of exciting things happening here. I mean, I think less right now just because of the circumstances, you know,
Sure.
but there's a ton of shit going on and lots of stuff to explore, and it's really
it
cool.
seems kind of endless.
Yeah, it is. It is endless.
But in that regard, it almost seems too endless as far as saturation, where it's like,
Right. Yeah, you can get
Do-
lost in it. And, yeah.
do people care about your art? Are you going to get noticed because everyone's trying to do it? So
well,
the competition
yeah.
is,
Right.
through the roof.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to get people's attention. You know.
As a musician, do you run into that problem a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be fair to say that nobody gives a fuck about the music that I make, you know.
I liked it a lot.
Cool,
I
thank
can't
you.
wait to listen to it.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's it's hard to get people's attention, and I'm a sort of an introverted person anyway, so
Do you put it out there a lot or no?
I mean, somewhat. The what I was playing today is kind of part of like a set of music that I've performed a handful of times, you know, over the past few years. I mean, not really for the past 2 years, but over the past few years before the pandemic, and that's cool. But like, yeah, I haven't figured out a way for myself to make it really make a lot of sense. You know, I think the key is community. You know, and some people they can really find their community, but yeah, it's a really big city.
Do you not have a sense of that here with
Not
musicians?
really. It's pretty disparate. You know, it's pretty disparate. I mean, my interests are also disparate, so that doesn't help.
What are your interests that make it feel so separated?
I mean, I'm just into very different kinds of music, you know, and I play very different kinds of music. So, like, for a while, I was, like, kind of part of the old-time scene, you know, because I was organizing this jam session, and so I just met a lot of people. I played with a lot of people, you know. I mean, there weren't really many, like, gigs, you know, but there were some gigs, you know, and there were just people and whatever. So I was a part of that scene for a while.
What do you play within that scene?
Bass.
Upright
I play
bass.
yeah.
When did you start playing upright bass?
In high school.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you play upright bass, piano,
Mm-hmm.
you sing,
Yeah.
percussion?
Not really. Those are my things. Singing.
Guitar?
Nah. I mean, I can play a few chords, but no.
All right.
Yeah, it's piano, bass, and singing.
Cool.
Are my things. Yeah.
Cool. So that's how you met Anne.
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
met. That's how I met Ampiel. Yeah, and so that's a community. You know, there's sort of the free improvised music community. that I don't really play that much in that scene, but I know a lot of people in that scene. But there's like a zillion scenes, you know. There's like the old time kind of oldie kind of jazz scene, or there's like the whatever noise music scene, or there's like punk, or there's like, you know, the people that are like trying to play pop music to get on the radio scene. There's like the
do they cross over to these scenes, or they stay to their parts? Like, is there a show you'd go to and there'd be like 4 different bands, like very different?
Yeah, I guess that does happen.
Yeah,
that does happen. But maybe not that much. Maybe it is a little bit ghettoized, you know.
Because where I'm from, I put on countless shows. Yeah. And I would deliberately just make every band pretty different.
Right.
And the shows I'd go to, same thing. Like, so many different bands, which was really cool.
Right.
Chicago's music scene is really sick, really tight. There is a huge community. Right. Very helpful. Like, the Facebook page, DIY Chicago, is probably the best version of that I've ever seen in the world. Mm-hmm. And how I know is I've looked up every major city's version of that, and there's way less members. Right. We communicate a lot less. When I reached out to New York City DIY on Facebook, it was kind of sad, the response I got.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's weird. I'm offering to do like a bunch of free sessions and one person bites.
Yeah.
Like, there's 10 million people here.
Yeah.
One person bites. I was like, this is ridiculous. In Chicago, my email box would fill up.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on.
But then I found that out when I was talking to a musician I worked with today when I mentioned that. And he's like, there's a bunch of like sub Facebook pages, and like every neighborhood has like their own. It's not like one big one. So it's just like separate. It's just different.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I wasn't taking on the same beast. I was taking on multiple different beasts.
Yeah. Right.
Know?
Yeah. Well, the city's really big. You know, it's really big. Like, there's a lot of people doing a lot of different stuff. You know,
it's cool. It's exciting, but it is overwhelming.
Yeah,
it's daunting.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited though. I have high hopes. I'm gonna go, just put everything into it. Why not?
Yeah, totally. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, I feel like there are these scenes that I don't think they overlap that much. You know, I mean, there are a lot of people that are in this city, like, and I've met a lot of them because I used to work in catering, and they work in catering. There's a lot of people that come here because they want to be on Broadway. You know, they're like really into musical theater, and they're probably fucking super sick singers, you know, and they're probably great actors too, and they can dance and all this kind of shit. And that's what they want to do. And then there are people that are like, you know, really heavy into traditional American folk music, you know, and then there are people that are like really heavy into like microtonal fucking synth pop, you know, and you're not going to go to a show where there's going to be show tunes and then there's going to be a string band and then there's going to be microtonal synth pop. There is mixing between scenes, but you know what I mean? And so in that way, it's sort of like, it's like there's just so many people doing so many different kinds of things that are like, to a great extent, like mutually exclusive, you know? Yeah. So if you're super into Broadway, you know, I don't know. It's just like, for me, it's like, I don't know, that music that I make, well, like, what the fuck is that music? Yeah. You know, where does that music situate? It's in some kind of experimental, somewhat music, but that isn't like noise and it isn't improvised. But like, I don't feel like I've really, and this is just totally personally, and like maybe I will figure this out or maybe I won't, but like, I don't feel like I've really found a scene that I can feel at home in, you know? Whereas maybe if I were into a music that was a little bit more, that had a little bit more of a community around it, like the jazz or like the old time or like the punk or whatever, you know, or the noise, you know, that like maybe that kind of thing would happen a little bit more naturally. Mm-hmm. But I don't know whether that's the scene and whether that's a New York thing or whether that's just something that I'm not tackling in the right way, you know, but I definitely don't feel like I've gotten a lot of traction for my particular kind of music that I play for whatever reason. Like, there isn't a community that I've really found, like, where I can make that happen, you know, which sucks, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like immeasurably dispirited about that, you know, like there's no end.
What kind of music would you say if you had to put it into a box? You're trying to find a group.
Yeah,
Community.
I don't know. It's just it's whatever that is that I'm playing. It's kind of.
I'd play with you.
Oh, cool! Thanks.
I brought I have a Vox amp, some pedals, and a Strat, and I make crazy ambient sounds and
Oh yeah,
experimental music all the time.
Cool.
Atonal. I play the guitar. I don't play the guitar. I play the guitar. I use the whole thing as an instrument, not just the 6 strings. So yeah, let's play some.
Well,
music.
yeah, let's play then. Yeah.
Like I was saying when you were talking about polymeasure, polyrhythm.
Yeah.
Syncopating these different time signatures. That's why I brought it up, because I was like, dude, I'm right there.
Yeah.
I have a hard time finding people that are into that, or that occurs naturally out of them when they play.
Right.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah. It's a weird thing, and I'm sure that there are other people that are interested in it or something. But I haven't. I don't know if there's a
cool. We'll
scene.
start a weird band. We'll
Yeah.
get a bunch of people.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
Totally. Okay. Okay. Great.
Look at that. That was easy.
I've got the space.
Yeah. I'm only a 0.4 miles away.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Cool.
That's funny. Yeah, we got to find a bass player.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna play keys. So.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if we do drums. We don't need to have drums.
Cool.
You probably know a ton of musicians.
Yeah. I do. But I know we can talk about it.
You're like, we don't have to talk about it, Mike.
Yeah.
I know it's a bad idea. It's like, this is printed. We can't be talking about it.
Right.
Because then it's a promise we can't keep sometimes.
Yeah.
So you've been playing music pretty much your whole life.
Yeah.
Do you have any records out? And if so, like how many?
Yeah, I have a few. I guess I have like 3 or 4.
Okay.
That are under the name Out of Sight of Land. So that's the music that I've been writing for the past 10, 12 years, something like that. So I released an album, my first album of songs. When was that? It was like 2013, something like that. 2012, 2013. I was playing the accordion. It's short. It's like 6 songs. Another short album the following year, which was, I think, it was like 3 songs. And a friend of mine in Montreal orchestrated some of those songs for like a small orchestra, and we recorded that. So there was, and I was still playing accordion at that time. So that all happened, about 7 or 8 years ago. And then I recorded a bunch of stuff in my room here during the shutdowns, lockdown, whatever, last April, May. And I've put that online with animations that I made.
Oh, you do animation?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, and our mutual friend, she has helped me out a little bit with animation as well. Yeah. So that I would consider that to be an album too, although it doesn't. It just exists on Bandcamp. So it's like maybe 4 albums.
Yeah.
They're all pretty short, but I like a short album.
What length do you consider short?
Well, like 25 minutes or something like that. Nothing is longer than that.
Okay.
So there are a handful of those albums of my own music, and I recorded some stuff a year and a half ago of what I played today. I recorded, and a friend of mine who's a percussionist recorded percussion tracks for it, and just finally got me the final versions a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to mix them in a few weeks.
Okay.
With a friend in Quebec. So I'm going to release an album soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for it, or are you keeping that secret for now?
Yeah, I don't really know, actually. I'm bad with titles. I struggle with titles. But it'll probably still be Out of Sight of Land. Yeah, I got to figure out.
Out of Sight of Land. That's
Out of Sight of Land.
The name of everything you've done?
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that name?
I pulled it out of Moby Dick, But I wanted a name for my project that was a phrase.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Cool, thanks. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So I was just looking for.
Definitely refers to the sea.
Yeah. And there's things about the ocean that are very appealing to me, and the music, the songs that I used to write maybe talked a little bit more about the ocean.
It's so weird to be near the ocean right now, but I feel like I'm not because I'm just surrounded by the city.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
It's a
that
weird
riding
feeling.
home. Yeah, I really got to get out to the beach. I haven't been out.
Where's the
this
nearest
year at
like
all.
safe beach as far as like it doesn't feel like you're swimming in toxic waste?
Oh yeah, I mean anywhere out in Rockaway. Yeah.
Where's that?
It's like it's just if you just drive south, if you get on Bedford and you just keep driving, eventually you'll pretty much get to the Rockaways. And
How far is that from
I
here?
think 10 miles. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just far enough to get from the New York sludge.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clean out there. So yeah, I bike out there sometimes.
That's cool.
And it's great. It's beautiful out there.
Mhm.
And yeah, we are really close to the ocean, but it's like you wouldn't even know it. Like you kind of have to make the effort.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
No.
Growing up on Lake Michigan, I've always had a sense of it because we'd go to the beach for fun. We'd go to the dunes in Indiana, Michigan all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. It's an hour away. And now I'm here. I'm like surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. I feel like even though I saw the Hudson and the river many, many, many times, I feel like I haven't seen the ocean. I'm like, it's just all city. And I'm right by the ocean. I haven't even seen it really.
Yeah. You gotta be intentional about it. But you can take the subway out there.
Maybe tomorrow we might go swimming. It was an idea. We'll see how we feel. Maybe we'll go drive a couple hours.
Yeah.
Go somewhere.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of fun.
There will be a lot of people at the beach tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah, Saturday on the East Coast in this heat.
Yeah.
Maybe something in Connecticut, like something far. I want to get like who I'm like. I feel like I'm not in a city anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You can do that. I mean, just drive out to Long Island.
Yeah, if you can get out of this hectic place, it's so hard to just get anywhere with a car.
Yeah, definitely.
It sucks.
Yeah. It's not built for cars really.
So you never had a car?
No.
Driver's license?
Yeah, I have a driver's license. Yeah, my mom lived in the suburbs, so I learned to drive up there when I was a teenager, which was great. And I had a motorcycle for a while. That's the only vehicle I've ever owned.
Those things are crazy.
Yeah, that was fun. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. I bought a motorcycle and I did a couple tours when I was playing the accordion, just like with the accordion and the bells.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. It was
around
cool.
the country or.
Not that far. It was like around like Eastern Canada. So
okay.
I was living in Quebec at the time. So like Ontario, Quebec, and then out to Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay.
And I guess I came down here though. No, I played like shows in like New York and Massachusetts and Vermont.
Why Canada? Did you just fall in love with it after college?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty good place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lived up there for a long time.
That's cool. I've always wanted to go to Montreal. Never been.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it. Especially in the summer.
You got musician friends up there?
Yeah.
I'll have to go there and send me their information.
Oh, cool.
I'll do what we
absolutely.
did tonight with them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, for sure. I could put you in touch with people
That'd
up
be
there.
sick.
Yeah.
I know one or two people there that are musicians. Like that's it. I don't really know many.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know as many people as I used to because it's been almost 10 years since I really lived in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have friends there for sure.
I heard nothing but good things about that city.
Yeah. And there's a good cultural scene up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I wonder whether I might end up back up there at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel because you feel very topsy-turvy with your music situation and even your living situation, the way you feel like, I've been thinking about like getting out.
Yeah.
And then just being like, your age, no kids, right? So it's just like, do you feel like you're just going to be pulled somewhere eventually soon?
Yeah, I mean, I let myself get pulled, and I pulled myself around to a lot of places for a while, and so my project for the past few years has been not to do that. So it's been 5 years that I've been in New York, but now it's been 5 years, and it's sort of like, man, I don't necessarily feel like I'm really accomplishing my goals here. So maybe I would take off again, but I don't know. Yeah, for a while, like I left Montreal, I moved to Palestine. I was teaching music there. And then
in the Middle East.
In the Middle East, yeah. Not like Palestine, Texas or something.
Yeah.
And then I was back here for a little while, and then I
Why there?
Why Palestine? I mean Arabic, Arabic. Like I mean the music, the language is just so beautiful.
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like overwhelmingly awesome.
What was that like for you?
It was cool. I mean, it was insane. I was there for a year, you know, which is a while, but it also isn't that long, you know, in a way. So you know, I got some impression of the culture there, the fraught political situation there.
It's a difficult place.
Yeah. It's a really troubled place.
Being half Jewish, how did that perspective
Yeah, I mean,
feel?
I kept that under wraps, you know.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some who don't, but I kept it under wraps. Also because I was super into the church in Ramallah where I was living. There was this great church, Orthodox church, and like it was just like all music. That was really cool. The Orthodox church in Ramallah, in like the old city of Ramallah, like it's like there's no speaking. There's no speaking. Like every single word is sung. You know, it's like
really?
And the services are long too. So it's like everything is chanted. And then there's a cantor that sings, or like a group of dudes it's you know, the patriarchy is strong out there. So like it's all dudes, you know, that are running the show. But like the cantor sings, and then like a group of dudes are chanting together, or like everybody's singing, and then like there is a sermon, and the sermon is spoken. But like it's just like 2 hours of song, you know, and like a lot of the melodies come back, like, you know, over the course of the service. And you know, incense and icons and the vestments, and I mean, it's just like it's the best, you know. It's so cool.
That's wild.
So if I had said to anybody, "Oh yeah, like I'm Jew," like it wouldn't have even computed. Like you were saying, like it's pretty weird to be Jewish and Christian. It's like it's even pretty weird in the U.S. Like it doesn't exist in other places.
Yeah,
you know, it's just it doesn't even fucking compute.
Palestine. They'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly. Well, it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
You know? So like when I was there, I was Christian. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, some people knew that I had a Jewish background, and if you Google me, you'll see me singing in synagogue choirs and stuff. Like it wouldn't take a lot of digging, you know. But yeah, I didn't navigate Palestine as a Jew. You know?
Did you go to Israel? Like,
yeah, pretty regularly. I was actually playing in a band that was Palestinians in the north of Israel. So I did a lot of traveling, and I spent a lot of time inside Israel, but like in sort of Palestinian communities within Israel.
Wow,
you know?
that's a debacle I'll never understand.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That's such a wild and complicated and insane history. Like, the craziest history.
Yeah. It's a real mess. Yeah, it's not even really worth going there. But
no. I don't even know enough.
Yeah, well,
I'm not going to pretend like I do.
Yeah, I mean nobody does.
Yeah.
You know, and except the Israelis, they know everything. You know. I couldn't resist.
Can't even say shots fired.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's just.
Well, you have more insight than I do. You went there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I speak from experience. But no, I mean, I'm not trying to whatever, like take a side or anything. It's just it's a real mess of a situation. And it is. I said I didn't want to go there, but it you know, it's clearly it's a colonial project, you know. So it's just it bears all of the problems and injustices that system has borne all over the world, you know. So it's basically that kind of phenomenon.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big fucking mess. Arabic language, Arabic music, you know, food,
culture, the whole
so
culture.
On. Yeah.
It's
so
so
was just,
cool.
Yeah, it was. I was just super curious about it, and
I wish it wasn't so misunderstood and misrepresented in America. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a.
Yeah.
Amongst the white culture, amongst white Christians, it's such a because it's like the arch nemesis. Like Islam is like.
Yeah, right. It's true. Yeah, it used to be the Russians. Now it's sort of the Russians again, which is ironic. But it was especially ironic. Now I'm talking about politics. It was especially ironic during the Trump administration, where it's like all the progressives now all of a sudden were like fear mongering about Russia. It's like, dudes, like this is like the same script from the Cold War that you decided was bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but it's like everybody, you know, there always has to be an enemy and a nemesis. So it's like, yeah, it's like the Islamic, you know, the Muslim terrorists, you know, or like the Russian communists or the this or the that, you know. It's like it's super unfortunate and
It's
very shallow.
Unfortunate.
You know,
there's so many beautiful cultures and like branches away from the religion. Like forget about the religion for a second. Just the culture, the food, the history, like Arabic language, and that whole society is responsible for like a lot of modern mathematics and algebra. It's
right? Yeah,
beautiful
totally.
that we have it still.
Yeah,
we needed it, and it was saved and
Totally.
harnessed. You know, and
Totally.
that's something I always go to when I'm like, man, we can't just because someone's different, their skin color is different, their language different, just go to a place of like xenophobia or bigotry. It's really, I don't even know why we do that. Not we, but the collective, speaking for a lot of people in this country. Like, why is it the first place you have to go to?
Yeah, it's super shallow.
It's really shallow.
Yeah.
I can't get there with my mind, but for some reason, a lot of people can.
Well, people, I mean, fear, it's like fear is maybe it's one of the most powerful emotions, and it's one of the most powerful like collective emotions, so like people, I think in a sense they want to be afraid, they want something to be afraid of, and so like that's a pretty convenient thing to be afraid of. It's like, oh, like a Muslim terrorist,
yeah, everyone who's Muslim is a terrorist. It's
yeah.
Like, what are you talking? Is everyone who's a white man like a KKK leader?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Or a banker, yeah.
Or a banker? Like, no.
Yeah.
They're not. Like, there are other people who aren't those things that are, it's a weird game. It's a weird game. And once you get beyond it and you just start talking to people, you realize how much of it's like this weird front. Like, there are people who are like that, but 99% of people are not.
Yeah.
They're just not. All across the board, in any type of stigmatism or anything you're going to stigmatize, it's like most people are not like that.
Right.
It's just like the loudness on Twitter. It's like it's a few people.
Yeah.
It's like,
but
maybe it's 1,000 people
really
when there's, 100 million users.
Yeah.
But man, they're so loud. The algorithm favors them heavily.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And it's like, no, that's not how people think. No one actually cares or thinks that way.
Yeah.
No one's going to cancel you because you said one wrong thing and then you apologize for it. It's like only in those places will you. But if it was in person, if I slipped up and said something, I was like, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to do that. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
You'd see like, oh, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, right.
But if I said it on Twitter, you'd be like, cancel them, kill them, throw them in the... You're like, what? No, like, someone just made a mistake. That's why I don't stay away from all of it. I'm a human being. I slip up all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to learn and like, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I didn't know this was the bike lane, and now I know.
Yeah.
But if I was on Twitter, I'd be done for because I went in the wrong lane.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, totally.
It's a frustrating place. Are you on much social media?
No,
you don't strike me as somebody who is.
No, I don't fuck with social media. Yeah, that's why it's a little ironic that like part of my job at the church is the social media. It's like actually I kind of fucked up a Facebook ad today. I put an ad on Facebook for the first time, and then I read it afterwards, and I was like, oh shit! Like I shouldn't have put a comma there, and B, like the email address isn't a link for some reason. It's just text, and I'm like, dude, like it was a $10 credit that I used, so like I didn't spend any of the church's money, but I was like, oh yeah, maybe we'll use ads, and this is like my genius social media marketing, I'm like, oh, we're gonna use ads. It's really sophisticated. Then I put an ad up, and like the email address that you're supposed to click isn't a fucking link.
Yeah, this goes to show your skill set.
Yeah,
you haven't done it enough.
Yeah, it's not my thing. But
I've made the mistake before of like doing a paid promotion, and there's like spelling errors. I'm like, oh my god. And like I can't take it down.
Yeah,
like, great.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess you can't edit it once it's
no. And I think you have to wait until it's in true circulation before you could take it down. Like in that grace period, you're just sitting there like. And then
that was the thing. There was nothing that I could do, and also I wanted to get out of there. It was 4:30. I wanted to come here. I wanted to finish work for the day, and I was like, oh right, that Facebook ad shit. I got to do that. So I spent some time doing it, and I like fucked it up. Couldn't fix it, and I was just like, okay.
So you stay away from Facebook,
is what it is.
Twitter.
Yeah, no, I don't fuck with it. So.
Kind of a little Instagram.
A little bit of Instagram.
Instagram seems to be the place where if an artist is into a little bit of something, that's it. It goes to Instagram.
Right. Yeah. Because
nowhere else.
Yeah, because like my friends are posting stuff like
it's most popular amongst artists. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's not surprising. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Twitter and stuff, but And yeah, I don't really mess with Facebook. It just
Or like TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. I downloaded TikTok. I think it's on my phone, and I like watched it once, and I was sort of like, "This is fucking crazy." But I feel like that's for people that are on their phones all the time, you know, which is cool, and like there's a lot of cool and entertaining stuff on it. But it's like that's not. I just don't have that behavior
not for you.
pattern. Yeah, so it's like I'm just not going to be able to understand
Yeah.
the video. You know, like there's a lot of self-referential stuff, and it's like I'm just not going to get it.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram, it's like, yeah, like a lot of friends are musicians or other kinds of artists. And so they're like, oh, this, you know, I've got this show coming up, or like, you know, I've just recorded this video. Or this album or whatever. So like, so it's a way, I don't follow up with a lot of it, but it is a way for me to sort of keep tabs on what like my colleagues are up to, you know,
Yeah.
what my friends are up to.
Yeah.
And that's where I post the videos that I make. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really end up watching them, but I post the animations that I make to Instagram. And
Do you have any on YouTube?
No, they're on Vimeo.
Vimeo.
Yeah, they're on
That's
Vimeo
classic.
and Instagram. But for the most part, I think the people that watch them are just like friends that I send it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't think I'm really getting in, like they're really strangers watching it, which is fine. I mean, I would love for more people to watch those animations because I think they're fucking cool, you know. And then
the secret is you should keep promoting. Like
yeah.
the irony of social media, because I'm the same way. Like I hate it, and I know in order for me to keep doing all these things, it's just part of the gig. It's part of the job. Like I have to capture everything. I have to put it on there.
Yeah.
I try to always make it a promotional thing for other people and myself,
Right.
but collectively we're growing and positive, and like, because that's how I am. I'm always a positive person, and I try to keep it simple. But I realize I don't like being on social media. I don't like having to do it, but I know I have to, and I have to pick one.
Yeah.
And it's Instagram. I pick
Right.
Facebook is like so secondary. I don't really use it, but then nothing else. And
Yeah.
it sucks. It's daunting, but I saw the correlation. The more I was active and
Yeah.
posted stuff and tagged things and did hashtags and did the stories and just did everything, the more I saw it grow and grow a lot. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So in order
you
for it
just
to
have to
work,
do
you have
it.
to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Content, share, like, follow. You just work the system, and the system will work you. And
Yeah.
it sucks, but it's just how it is, and it's part
Yeah.
of the gig. If you want to make money doing your craft, you have to
Right,
put yourself out there. People have to know about you, because if you don't do that, apparently you don't exist.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. Yeah, and I think for the most part, I don't exist. but I don't know. Maybe that's okay in the end. Like I mean, I send my animations to friends, and they enjoy it and they get something out of it. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna have this album soon. I'll have to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do with it. You know, I just wanted to capture this music that I've been working on for the.
Are you
past
going to
few
put
years.
it on streaming services?
I'm gonna do something. I don't
Put it
know.
on streaming services. That's the
Yeah.
one step, because I did the Bandcamp thing for things.
Yeah.
Which is cool, and it's
Yeah.
easy, and it's high quality, and it's free. But you get so much more reach
Yeah.
with the streaming services.
Yeah, it's true. Although you know, some of my music is on what's it called, Spotify, and I've definitely, you know, it says monthly listeners, you know, and I've definitely gone to the page before, and it's like 0 monthly listeners. Like
because you weren't
literally-
promoting it.
What's that?
Because you weren't promoting it.
Yeah.
You got to promote. It's the same thing as the social media. You got to promote that on social media.
Right.
Share with people. It's such a racket. It's a game.
Yeah.
You got to play the game. It's a whole system. It's a whole industry.
Yeah.
And you just have to play it. Otherwise, why? Like, if you put it out there, you're in New York, you're in America, you're on planet Earth. Why would 7.8 billion people care at all?
Yeah.
Unless you gave them the reason to.
Yeah,
by
right,
Putting
exactly.
yourself out there. Like, it's. I always was thinking, like, oh, people find it. It's like, why would they find it? They're look up that. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why would they? It sounds great in a fantasy world, but it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
PR is half the battle.
Yeah.
It's half the battle.
Yeah. I hear that. Yeah. So this music that I'm going to be releasing sometime in the next 6 months or something like that. That might be an excuse to
Try harder on that. So.
to try something.
Little incremental steps. It's frustrating, but even like these videos we did will be great promotion to pair with it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Totally.
You know.
Yeah. Something to share.
Yeah.
And yeah. I mean that's it. I don't know. My favorite radio station in the area played one of my tracks. Like,
oh, nice.
I guess it was a while ago now. It was like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that was cool. You know, it's like it's fun to get played on the radio. Like somebody just kind of found my music through some way.
That is cool.
But yeah, it's hard to kind of get some traction,
especially when you're making more obscure music.
Yeah,
and I don't say obscure in a bad way. I just mean it relative to what's out there. You know? I get it. I struggle with it all the time. Making obscure music, noise music, improvisational, art rock that's 20 minutes long. Like, there's like 3 people on the planet that care. Yeah. So like it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. But when someone does care and they talk to you about it, it means a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
You're like, man,
absolutely.
They really tried and like listened to this. I could tell.
Yeah.
You know, we forgot to mention that it's like 100 degrees in here.
Yeah.
So for the people looking at us, we're just like, I'm like drenched.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you're wiping yourself down. Like, this is the hottest podcast I ever did. No, it's just really heated. Good. You know, we're just
right. Yeah,
really
we're
going
really
at it. No, it's probably like 90 something out, and we're in a room with no air on.
Yeah, it's probably 90 something in here. Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
But this is also, like I was saying to you earlier, like this is a very New York thing, and it's good to experience. You know, like New York, like the humid, hot summer vibe in New York is like. It's a thing, and it's a special thing, and it's part of the New York experience.
Yeah,
you know?
It's really actually reminiscent of where I'm from. Like Chicago's swampland,
right.
You know, we have our 95-degree heat wave stuff too, and I just go in my basement or I stay in the house. But here I'm here, so I'm just I'm living this. I'm gonna go home and take a freezing cold shower any second.
Totally.
But having that water,
the
ocean nearby, when we have the lake. You get a weird type of humidity between the swamplands, because this was all swamplands too.
Right.
Before it settled. And between the swamplands and the humidity from the ocean or the water or the lake, and then we're nearly at the same latitude.
Right.
Coordinates, I believe Chicago is like one degree higher.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same. It's brutal.
Yeah.
And you get way more ambient heat because of the concrete and steel.
Oh, yeah.
It's absorbing all of it.
Yeah,
it's really
insane.
dark.
Yeah.
So this is very familiar. I'm rarely in a Chicago apartment with no AC in the summertime doing a podcast sitting there. Like this is the first time I've done something like this. So it's extra like sauna-y.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And
I'm enjoying it though.
And this building too. I mean, we're on the top floor, so it gets particularly hot.
The heat rises here, and then the heat is hitting
exactly.
You. Yeah, this is a hot spot.
Yeah, it is a particularly hot spot. But
I mean, you do have a window unit. It's just too noisy to be using.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't survive otherwise. There's a hot nights, hot sweaty nights. Like I've done plenty of that, but it's like
it's
man,
not. You don't sleep well when it's 83 degrees.
Yeah.
And like 90% humidity.
Yeah.
Like last night was really hot. I looked at that it wasn't getting below 82, and I saw that I could set the AC to like 66, and I was like, I'm so spoiled.
Yeah,
I was cold last night.
Yeah.
Like there's people sweating profusely, and I was cold last night.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I have this guilt about me every day of my life. Every day I'm just like, I feel bad about anything that is slightly better than what someone else has. I just feel so bad.
Yeah. Well, that's a classic Western affliction.
At least I feel it. Some people don't feel that at all. They're just like, I don't care.
Right.
I worked for it. It's like,
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I worked hard.
Yeah, I did too, but I still feel bad that like other people work for it and they have way less.
Yeah.
And I can't help it.
Yeah, but the AC at night.
Oh my god!
You know, it's a lifesaver.
I just reminds me of being a kid and we didn't have it. Like at my grandma's house, I remember it brings me back nightmares. Just laying there in bed with all the windows open, fans, everyone just still sweating profusely.
Yeah,
I can't sleep. I'm on the verge of like heat stroke, and it's 2 a.m. in July.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a very particular fucking feeling.
Yeah,
but it's super real.
Yeah.
And then the thing is also, it's like you're walking around or like you're waiting for the subway in the station. It's like you can't. There's no air conditioning. You know, it's like that experience of the heat. It's like I don't know. I think there's something essential about it.
It's nice when you get to your cold shower, your AC room. You're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah, totally. And also, you sort of settle into the heat. You know, if you're just stuck in the heat, like you settle in. Like there's no heat. Or there's no what's it called, AC, like in the church, like in where I work, because I actually work in like the church of the church. Not in an office, and you know, like it's just hot. You know, you put a fan right on you.
Yeah.
The computer overheats more than I do. You know.
I've been out all day. I've been outside since 11 in the heat.
Yeah.
The whole I just been outside all day.
Yeah, you sort of settle
Just
into
get used
it.
to it. It's like I'm just gonna be sweating all day, and then tonight drink a lot of water, and tonight when I get home, take the coldest shower ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And just sit on the couch in the freezing cold AC and just like listen to records for a couple hours and just relax.
Yeah. If you have that refuge at the end of the day, that makes a big difference.
That's what I've been looking forward to.
Yeah,
this is gonna be great. It's been a day.
Totally.
You want to promote any more things before we? And I don't know what time it is, but
oh yeah,
like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Oh, cool, nice.
Yeah. Did it feel like that?
No, really. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm good, but yeah, my back is feeling it a little bit. Was there anything I wanted to promote? No, I mean, I'm out of sight of land, and like I said, the animations that I did last year, some on my own and some with a collaborator, and just the music that I recorded during the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's very calming. People enjoy it, so I would recommend checking that out.
Out of Sight of Land on Bandcamp and
on Bandcamp, on Instagram. If you Google it, I think the chances are you'll find
up.
me.
Yeah.
Moby
Dick.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You might find there's also some kind of like tropical, like Hawaiian thing that comes up, but but out of Sight of Land. There's some stuff online and it's worth listening to, I think.
I think so. I was very impressed. I liked what you played.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
I'm very much into that music. I can't wait to show my friends and stuff the video.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I appreciate like I said, like I haven't played a show, and I would consider that to be a show because it's just playing. Like, and like going on 2 years, and it's really nice to just have the occasion to dust off some music. Yeah. Figure out what to play, figure out how to play it, and perform it. And I'm really looking forward to like hearing and seeing it. And
cool. I am too.
Cool.
Thank you for having me here, bringing me into
your totally.
place.
It's a pleasure.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
It's a cool spot.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's I love
a lot of
place.
Character.
Yeah.
I connect with this type of space.
Yeah. It's cool. It's sadly, I put on a few shows. I've lived here for like 2.5 years. Like my roommate's been here for like 11 years, 12 years.
Oh wow.
But I have put on some shows, before the pandemic hit. But since the pandemic, because it's a great space for putting on shows.
I could see that.
A couple of really fun shows here.
That's cool.
Maybe this fall, we'll see.
I'll come.
Yeah, cool.
I'll record some of them.
Oh, cool.
Some video.
Nice.
Yeah, audio.
You'll know if we're having shows here.
Please do. Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure to talk with you and hear your fascinating story. And
you're most welcome.
And I can't wait to hear your new record.
Cool.
And for those listening, check out his music. And I guess that's it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Totally. You too.